Settle in, dear friend. Let the evening be simple. If you have a warm mug nearby, feel the gentle heat in your hands. If you are lying down, sense the soft weight of the blanket across your body, the way the mattress quietly holds you. Perhaps a small lamp glows at the edge of the room, or there is a hush behind the window, the air of night already untying the day's knots. You have carried a lot. You do not need to carry it now. Let this be your small sanctuary, a place without demands, a place where nothing has to be fixed in this moment for you to belong here. Before we go on, let me know where you're listening from. And if this brings you peace, please subscribe to Calm Buddha Path so more people can find it. Burnout can feel like a slow dimming of the inner light. It is not your fault. It is not a failure. It is a natural response to too much for too long, with too little tenderness in between. Sometimes it comes from caring deeply without the support of care returning. Sometimes it arrives when the rhythm of your days is all output and no rest, all effort and no grace. And sometimes it settles in quietly, so quietly you only notice when the body begins to whisper with fatigue, or when small tasks feel like steep hills. Tonight we begin from a different place than try harder. We begin with compassion, which is not a luxury, not a decoration, but the warm ground beneath every true healing. Let your breath lengthen a little, not by force, but by invitation, the way you might offer a chair to a tired friend. Notice how the air comes and goes on its own. The breath is doing the breathing. You are allowed to simply feel it. The body is wiser than we remember when we are rushed. Right now, feel one point of contact, perhaps your hands touching your lap or your chest meeting your shirt. Let attention rest there like a leaf on still water. If it wanders, no problem. That's what attention does. Gently bring it back, not like scolding a child, but like holding the small hand of someone you love. Burnout often hides inside three old companions of the mind: craving, aversion, and confusion. Craving pushes us to grasp for what isn't here yet, to hustle for enoughness. Aversion tightens against what we don't like, turning ordinary difficulty into a fight we are always losing. Confusion clouds the path, so even rest becomes a task we can't complete. Compassion is the warm lantern that helps you recognize these companions, not to banish them with force, but to meet them with friendliness and clear seeing. When you see the pattern, you are less inside it. When you are less inside it, space opens. In space, healing begins. You might be wondering what compassion actually looks like. It is not pity, not performance, and not making yourself small. Compassion is the willingness to connect with what is painful without turning away, and to respond with care. Starts at home with you. If you are exhausted, compassion says, "Of course you are." If you feel numb, compassion says, "That is a wise body trying to protect you." If you feel angry, compassion says, "Something matters and wants tending." This voice is not sentimental. It is practical. It saves energy by not wasting it on self-judgment. It clears room for the next gentle step. Let's try a tiny experiment together. If it feels right, close your eyes or let them fall soft. Imagine a friend describing your day using your own words. Listen as if it were someone else. Hear the deadlines, the messages, the responsibilities, the invisible labor. Notice what your body does as you listen. Perhaps your shoulders lift, or your jaw tenses, or your stomach holds. Now, if you like, whisper silently to that friend, "I'm sorry it's been so heavy. You shouldn't have to carry this alone." Notice the shift, however small. Compassion changes the chemistry of the moment. You are not trying to solve everything. You are offering presence to one breath. There is a simple teaching that the mind is like a lake, and experience is like weather. When the wind of stress blows, the lake is stirred, and we forget that beneath the waves there is still water waiting, clear and deep. Compassion does not stop the wind, but it helps you remember the depth. It becomes the soft weight that makes the boat steadier. And it is learned not by efforting, but by practicing small, ordinary kindnesses toward your own experience, moment by moment, like lighting a candle every night and trusting the glow adds up over time. Here is a first micro-practice for tonight, short and doable. Hand on heart, check in about 30 seconds. If it feels comfortable, place one hand over the center of your chest and the other on your belly. Feel the gentle rise and fall. Silently name what is here in a word or two, like tired, tight, numb, scattered, hopeful. If naming feels difficult, you can simply say here. Offer one kind sentence to yourself, something simple like, "May I be gentle with myself right now." If it doesn't resonate, you can skip the phrase and just feel the warmth of your hand. You can pause anytime. When you meet your inner life this way, you are trusting the body's wisdom. The body tells the truth quietly. When ignored, it speaks louder. When welcomed, it often softens without drama. Many of us learn to override signals in order to keep going. Tonight, you are practicing a different loyalty, one that honors life's rhythms. A long journey has pit stops. Even the strongest runners pause to drink water. You do not earn rest by finishing everything. You meet rest as a companion along the way. There is a story told about a monk who was known for his kindness. People would seek him out when they felt broken by work or sorrow. One day, a visitor asked him how he learned compassion. He said, "I tried to fix myself until I was too tired to move. Then I noticed a thirsty plant on my windowsill and, without thinking, I poured it water. The relief I felt in my own chest was immediate. So I kept watering. Plants, people, places within me. That was all." The visitor was surprised. "That's it?" The monk smiled. "That's it. Simple is not easy, but it is enough. You do not have to be a monk to water the plant inside you. You just need a few sips of attention, given regularly, even when you don't feel like there's time. If you are struggling to feel compassion for yourself, start with something neutral and expand. Feel the kindness of gravity holding you right now. Feel the work your lungs do even when you are asleep. Consider the countless hands that brought your blanket or pillow or cup into your life. The designers, the factory workers, the delivery drivers, all unseen helpers. Let your mind rest on that web of quiet support. Compassion is often contagious. When you notice the good, your nervous system learns that it can settle without losing vigilance. It learns that safety can be felt in small, available ways. Let your exhale be a little longer again. If you like, imagine the day as a coat you can set down beside you. You can pick it up later. You can also leave in the pockets what you no longer need to carry. The stray criticisms, the extra urgency, the belief that worth comes only after achievement. The coat will be lighter when you put it on again. You will be lighter too. Here is another tiny practice you can keep in your pocket. 50% effort, about 1 minute. Choose any small movement, perhaps stretching your fingers or rotating your shoulders or slowly turning your head. Do it with half the effort you usually use. Notice the space that opens when you stop pushing. If it works, try it in the mind. Think a thought with half the force, like "I should answer that email," and then soften it to "I can answer that email when I'm ready." If this feels strange, you can pause. The point is not to be perfect, but to taste what less strain feels like. Burnout often rides along with a narrow identity. The one who holds it together, the reliable one, the strong one, the fixer, the one who doesn't make a fuss. Compassion gently loosens that casing. It says you are more than the roles you play. It invites life beyond the mask, not by tearing the mask off, but by letting you breathe under it. You can be devoted and still rest. You can care and also say "not now." You can be skillful and also ask for help. This is not a contradiction. It is a larger truth. Sometimes people worry that compassion will make them soft or less effective. But consider how you work when you are harsh with yourself. The body tightens. The mind narrows. Creativity shrinks to a tunnel. Now consider how you work when someone believes in you and offers warmth. Shoulders lower. Breath deepens. Options appear. Compassion is not the opposite of clarity. It is the ground for it. From kindness, you see the next doable step. From harshness, you see only the problem. Tonight, we are building the capacity to treat yourself like someone you want to keep going for a long time, not just through this sprint, but through a life. If it feels helpful, sense the back of your body. Often we live forward, leaning into what's next. Bring some attention to the support behind you, the way the bed or chair receives your weight. Imagine a wide mountain at your back. It doesn't need you to hold it up. It has its own solidity. Let it lend you some. You can lean into it without giving anything in return. This image is enough. You might notice small pockets of resistance, little voices that say this is silly or this won't help. That's okay. Resistance is often a guardian formed during times when softening felt unsafe. Thank it for its service. Remind it that you are just practicing. Nothing permanent is being decided. You can keep the guard if you need it later. For now, a few minutes of gentleness are allowed. There is another story, quiet and useful. A young practitioner visited the Buddha, exhausted and discouraged. He had been working very hard, straining to be perfect, and he felt like a failure. The Buddha asked him about a lute, a stringed instrument. What happens when the string is too tight? It breaks, the practitioner said. And when it's too loose, it will not play. The middle way is neither tight nor slack. The young man understood. He had been tightening his strings until there was no music left. The teaching is simple. Tune your life to the note that carries your days without breaking you. Compassion is how you hear the right note. For tonight, the right note might be softer than you expect. It might be the quiet decision to finish nothing else. It might be the promise to meet tomorrow with one small act of care before email, before news, before all the pulling. It might be the kindness of drinking water slowly, or stepping into morning light for a minute, or pausing before you speak to yourself in a tone you would never use with a friend. These are not symbolic gestures. They retrain the nervous system to trust that you will not abandon yourself when life intensifies. If it feels natural, bring attention back to the breath, not as a project, but as a place to rest. You can notice the coolness at the nostrils on the in-breath and the warmth on the out-breath. You can count softly to 3 as you inhale and to 4 as you exhale, or not count at all. You can track the way your ribs widen on their own, how the lower back subtly expands, how the shoulders rise and fall like slow waves. Let the body show you how to be here. It has been doing this your whole life without applause. When your mind drifts into unfinished tasks, greet the thought with kindness. You might say, "Thank you, planning mind, we will return to you later. For now, rest." Or you might imagine placing the thought on a shelf in a quiet room. You can come back and take it down tomorrow. The skill is not to force thoughts away, but to let them pass through without building a house for each one. Burnout builds houses for every thought. Compassion opens windows. If you feel tears or nothing at all, both are welcome. Tears can be a release valve. Emptiness can be a form of rest. If you feel joy, let it be simple. You don't have to explain it to anyone, least of all to yourself. You are allowed to be okay for a few minutes, even if not everything is okay. This is not denial. It is nourishment. Let's close this first evening with one more small practice. Something you can do in a line at the store, at a red light, between meetings, or as your head sinks into the pillow. 3-thing gratitude scan, about 1 minute. If it feels right, look around wherever you are and choose 3 ordinary things that are supporting you. A cushion that holds shape. A plant that quietly cleans the air. A charged battery that lets you hear these words. Name them silently. If your mind resists, you can pick neutral things like the floor or the wall. End with one kind phrase of your own choosing, maybe "Thank you for this breath." If it doesn't resonate, end with silence. You can stop anytime. Imagine now the room settling even more. The lamp softer, the edges of objects less sharp. Night is doing its work. The earth turns without asking you to push it. Your heartbeat answers to a rhythm older than plans. Trust that. Trust that your worth is not something you have to hold up all the time. Trust that compassion is not a trick you perform, but a home you return to, breath by breath. As you drift, remember the simplest lesson of the plant on the windowsill. It never blames itself for needing water. It turns toward the light as it is with the strength it has in the season that is here. So can you. If you want to set a gentle direction for tomorrow, make it small, specific, kind. Perhaps the first cup of water before anything else. Perhaps one honest pause mid-morning to feel your feet. Perhaps one sentence spoken inwardly with warmth, like you are doing your best and it matters. This is how burnout loosens. Not with a single grand act, but by 1,000 small mercies repeated until the system learns it is safe to rest and safe to care. For now, let your body be the teacher. Let the edges of the day dissolve. Let the quiet grow wider than the noise. Compassion first, not as an idea, but as the felt sense of being on your own side. You belong to that warmth. It has been waiting for you all along. Tonight, let the room feel a touch dimmer, like the world has pulled a soft curtain across its bright edges. Maybe there is a light rain beyond the glass, its hush blurring the day into an easy gray. If you are sitting, sense the chair steady beneath you. If you are lying down, feel the pillow cradle the weight of your head. Perhaps a cool glass of water is close, or the faint movement of evening air brushes your cheek. Let small comforts rise to the surface, like stones warmed by sun that now give their heat back to your hands. You have arrived. Nothing is required. Allow your breathing to find a quieter rhythm, as if each exhale was smoothing the bedsheet of your nervous system. You do not need to count unless it helps. You might simply notice the gentle drift of your chest, the tiny release at the base of your throat, the way the belly yields a little more on the way out. Let the breath be ordinary. Ordinary is enough. In the world you move through, so much asks you to be extra. The practice here is the opposite. You are allowed to be exactly how you are and still belong fully to this moment. Burnout often builds through 1,000 unseen moments, the small frictions that never get a name, the meeting that runs long into lunch, the message you draft with care and never send because it needs another pass, the worry you carry for someone you love, which you tuck under your smile so the day can keep moving. These are not mistakes. They are signs of how much you care. But when caring has no soft place to land, it turns heavy. Compassion offers that place. Tonight, we let compassion become practical, woven into the simple fabric of life so that healing is not another burden, but a way of moving that spends less of you. We can begin with a small ritual that takes half a minute and asks nothing strenuous. Arrive at the edges about 40 seconds. If it feels right, let your attention trace the outline of your body as if you were mapping your own coastline. Start at the forehead, glide down the temples, along the jaw, over the neck, across the shoulders, down the arms to the fingertips, then the ribs, hips, thighs, shins, ankles, toes. You can go as slowly or as quickly as you like. If any place feels tender or numb, note it kindly. You can always pause. End by noticing the space around you holding your shape, the way air itself allows your edges to be clear. If the practice doesn't feel helpful, you can let it go. When we talk about compassion, we sometimes imagine it as a feeling that must be summoned. But compassion can also be a set of wise behaviors, repeated until your system trusts them. The behaviors are small. How you speak to yourself when a mistake happens, how you pause between tasks, how you let a single breath complete itself before you open the next email, how you lower your shoulders before you answer the phone. It is easy to overlook these because they are simple and unspectacular. But simplicity is a kind of power. If something is simple, you can do it often. If you do it often, it reshapes you. Consider how many times during a day you touch your devices. The phone, the laptop, the tablet, the watch. Each touch is a doorway. You don't need to stop using them. You might simply decide that every time your thumb unlocks a screen, you soften your gaze and let one slow exhale pass. This adds no time to your day. It adds a pause, and in that pause the body can reset towards safety. When the body feels safer, the mind doesn't have to scan as much. Fewer scans mean less strain. Less strain helps your clarity return. This is how compassion becomes a skill, not a mood. There is an old teaching sometimes called the 2 arrows. The first arrow is the unavoidable sting of life. An unexpected comment, a deadline that tightens, a child's fever, a plan that falls apart. The second arrow is what we add. The story that we're failing, the certainty that this always happens to me, the rush to fix everything before we've even felt the first sting. Burnout is often the result of 1,000 second arrows. We don't have to become invulnerable to the first. We can learn to notice and set down the second. The practice is not about suppressing reaction. It is about gentling it, giving it less fuel, letting it pass before it builds a wildfire. Try this now if it feels okay. Recall a minor irritation from the day. Not the hardest thing, just a small snag. Watch the body's response as you remember it. Perhaps a breath shortens or a muscle tightens. Acknowledge the first arrow. That felt unpleasant. Then notice the next thought that starts to build a story. There it is, the second arrow. If you can, let the story soften by naming it as a habit. A habit is not a truth. It is a groove. The moment you see the groove, you can step to the side. The first arrow leaves a mark. The second is optional. This recognition, repeated kindly, is the beginning of freedom. In ordinary life, second arrows often appear in the inbox. A message arrives without a greeting and your chest contracts. The first arrow, blunt email. The second, they must be angry. I messed up. Now I have to fix everything tonight. Compassion might intervene by offering a more generous possibility. Perhaps they were rushing. Perhaps nothing is wrong. Even if there is an issue, it can be addressed without self-blame. Before you reply, you might try a 10-second check-in. Inbox pause about 10 to 20 seconds. If it feels helpful, read the message once. Close your eyes or let them soften. Feel your feet or the contact of hands. Allow one full breath. Ask yourself, what is the simplest accurate reply that respects both of us? Type that. If you feel pressure rising, you can step away for a minute. If this sounds impossible, choose one email a day to practice with. If it adds stress, you can stop. Another ordinary place where second arrows gather is in comparison. You see someone's polished moment and draw a line to your tender underbelly. Compassion answers by widening the frame. No one's life is made of only polished moments. Yours is not made of only tender ones. The mind narrows under stress. Compassion reopens the view. When your view expands, your options expand. This is not a trick. It is physiology meeting wisdom. The body is our constant companion in this training. If you're willing, take a slow breath and feel into the middle of your back, the broad territory often ignored while the chest and face take all the attention. Imagine the back of the heart softening, like a window shade slowly lowering at dusk. When the back of the heart relaxes, the front doesn't have to work so hard to brace against the world. Sometimes we cannot think our way out of bracing. We can only practice not bracing in a small, physical way and let the mind follow. Many of us carry identities that have kept us safe and useful. Perhaps you are the one who anticipates needs, the one who handles logistics, the one who brings humor, the one who steadies the team, the one who says yes before the question is fully formed. These are beautiful capacities. They deserve respect. And yet, if they harden into singular identity, they can become cages. Compassion is not the end of your helpfulness. It is what lets your helpfulness breathe. You can still be reliable and rest. You can still be capable and ask for a pause. You can still be generous and say, not today. You may notice how often fear rises when you consider this. Fear says, if you stop, it will all fall apart. Let compassion answer. If it all depends on one person never pausing, the system needs kindness, not your sacrifice. Here is a brief practice you might try before meetings or conversations that require presence. Soft front, strong back, about 1 minute. If it feels comfortable, sit or stand with your spine like a tree trunk that grew in good soil. Not rigid, alive. Let your shoulders ease down and forward a touch, like a cloak settling. Feel your chest open just enough to let air move easily, while your back widens. Imagine your posture saying 2 sentences. I am receptive and I am supported. Breathe with that for 3 slow cycles. If it feels strange, adjust until it feels natural. You can stop anytime. When we soften the second arrow and practice small compassionate behaviors, attention gradually returns to the moments of life that are already nourishing but overlooked. Boiling water, the first sip of tea, the way a child's breath sounds from another room, the smell of soap, the pause before a reply. These are not decorations on the day. They can be the day. Burnout shrinks your world to tasks and problems. Compassion re-expands it to include quiet pleasures that require no achievement at all. When the nervous system begins to trust these simple satisfactions, it requires less drama to feel alive. Sometimes what keeps compassion distant is a private ledger of grievances against ourselves. You replay the time you snapped, the project you delayed, the promise you made and didn't keep because you ran out of road. The ledger grows and you carry it everywhere. Compassion is not an eraser. It is a pen with a different ink. It adds context, not excuses. It writes in the margins. You were tired, you were scared, you did not have the skill yet, you're learning. The writing softens the weight, and in that softening, responsibility becomes possible again because shame is no longer dragging you backward. You can apologize more cleanly, fix what can be fixed, and let the rest compost into wisdom. If it feels right, you can try a brief forgiveness gesture, not as a moral performance but as nervous system care. Palm-to-palm release, about 40 seconds. Bring your hands together lightly in front of your chest. Feel the faint warmth where skin meets skin. Think of one small way you were hard on yourself today. Whisper inwardly, I am learning. Let this soften. Slowly let the hands slide apart and rest them wherever they are comfortable. If words don't fit, just feel the sensation of release. You can always pause. If this brings up resistance, that's okay too. Thank the resistance for trying to keep you safe. There is a quiet scene from the Buddha's life that many overlook. After a long period of striving that nearly broke his body, he accepted a bowl of nourishing food from a village girl. It was a simple act with no mystical fireworks. He ate. He regained strength. He set aside the punishing extremes and chose a path of balance that honored the body as a friend. This is a story about compassion that is not poetic at all. It is practical. Eat when you're hungry. Rest when you're spent. Accept help without making a production out of deserving it. Healing often begins at the scale of nourishment, not at the scale of ideals. Let's bring this into a very ordinary corner of life. Chores. Dishes can be a time of impatience. The mind wants to be done. Compassion meets the sink differently. Warm water becomes warmth to your hands. The plate is a small planet you're caring for. Each circle of the sponge is a breath length. If your mind races, fine. Let it. See if 2 dishes can be done with attention. Then let the rest be however they are. A tiny dose of presence will still settle in your system like a seed. Seeds don't judge whether the soil was ready. They try anyway. For those who are caring for others, children, elders, teammates in trouble, compassion does not ask you to care less. It asks you to include yourself in the circle of care. When you soothe a child, you might also relax your own jaw. When you help a parent stand, you might feel your feet on the floor and take a breath that reaches your back. When a colleague brings urgency to your desk, you might listen, reflect, and then name one clear step instead of absorbing the entire weight. Inclusion is not selfish. It's sustainable. The load is shared not only across people but across moments. Some moments carry, some moments replenish. Both matter. Micro-practices can tether compassion to daily rhythms so it doesn't float away. You might choose one for mornings, one for midday, one for evening. Morning anchor about 30 to 60 seconds. Before you look at any screen, place both feet on the floor and let your eyes find something natural. Sky, a plant, a wooden table. Take one slow inhale, let the exhale lengthen, and ask gently what would make today feel humane. One word may come: space, warmth, clarity, humor. If nothing comes, that is fine. You can simply stand in the doorway of your day and feel that you are not rushing through it. If it feels forced, skip it. Midday reset, about 30 seconds. When you stand up from a chair, pause with your hands on the backrest. Roll your shoulders down and back twice with half effort. Breathe into the ribs once or twice. Say inwardly, I can move more slowly than the world. If your context doesn't allow this, you can do only the thought. If even that is too much, you can let it go. Evening unwind, about 1 minute. When you close your laptop or turn off a lamp, brush your fingertips lightly over your forearms from elbow to wrist, then from wrist to fingertips, like wiping dust from a shelf. Imagine you are clearing the static of the day from your skin. Breathe out as you finish. If you're too tired, you can simply imagine the motion. As compassion grows, it often changes how we speak. Not a forced sweetness, but a steadier honesty that includes kindness. You might notice that you begin to ask different questions in hard moments, questions that open space rather than tighten it. Instead of what is wrong with me, you might ask what hurts and how can I be with it. Instead of I have to get through this alone, you might ask who could help, even a little. Instead of I can't stop now, you might ask what would happen if I paused for 30 seconds. These questions do not solve everything, but they loosen the knot enough to let a little light in. If you feel yourself drifting towards sleep, let that be welcome. The words can become background, like soft conversation in the next room. If you are awake and attentive, stay with the sensations that most easily settle you. The weight of a blanket along your shin, the faint rhythm of your pulse at the thumb, the way the breath leaves and the belly yields. This is all practice. There is nothing to get right. Sometimes someone will say they don't deserve compassion because others suffer more. This is a noble impulse twisted into a knot. Compassion is not a pie that runs out. Your kindness to yourself does not take from someone else. It helps you show up for them with less resentment and more steadiness. If anything, it increases the total amount of care available in the world. Think of it as tending the well so that you can draw water tomorrow and the day after. No one begrudges a well its repairs. As we near the end of this evening's time, consider one small boundary that would feel like mercy to tomorrow's you. Not a wall, a gentle fence. Perhaps you'll decide that after a certain hour you won't answer non-urgent messages. Perhaps you'll give yourself a real lunch away from your desk twice this week. Perhaps you'll speak with someone you trust about sharing a responsibility you've carried alone. Boundaries are compassion's architecture. They are not punishments. They are shapes that allow life to move through you without breaking you. Before we close, one more short practice to gather yourself kindly. Name and nest about 1 minute. If it feels soothing, let your eyes soften or close. Choose a word for how you are: drained, steady, tender, restless. Okay, whisper it inwardly. Then imagine making a small nest for that feeling in the center of your chest. The nest can be made of anything that comforts you. Threads of warm light, a woven scarf, a quiet meadow. Let the feeling rest there without needing to change. Breathe once or twice, as if you were warming the nest. If this feels too abstract, you can simply rest a hand on your chest and be quiet for a moment. You can stop anytime. The rain outside, if it is there, has found its own rhythm by now. If the sky is clear, night may be wide and ordinary, a comfort of its own. You are allowed to be ordinary too, to be someone in a room breathing, to be a body unwinding from a day, to be a heart that met 50 small moments and did what it could. There is a sweetness in that picture, a human being who tried. Compassion sees that picture and softens, says thank you, says rest, and when you wake, we will keep learning together. For now, trust the quiet work happening beneath thought, the body that knows how to settle when given a chance, the mind that can learn to loosen the second arrow's grip, the heart that expands when it is not being measured. You do not have to prove anything here. You do not have to earn the softness that is already reaching for you. Let the breath finish an easy cycle. Let the shoulders release a little more. Let your attention widen and then blur, like a lens moving from close focus to a gentle landscape. In that landscape there is space. In that space you are safe enough to rest. And that is enough for tonight. Let the night air be your companion for a while. Maybe there is a small window cracked open and you can feel a faint ribbon of breeze move across your cheek. Perhaps a quiet fan turns somewhere in the room. Its steady hum like a calm animal breathing beside you. If you are curled on your side, notice how the pillow cups your face and supports the curve of your neck. If you are seated, let your feet meet the floor as if it were soft earth. You don't have to prepare yourself to be here. You are already here. Allow your attention to settle the way a feather settles, tilted by gravity, with no rush. Let your next exhale be unhurried. Not longer on purpose, simply permitted to finish. Notice the small relief that comes when something is allowed to complete. So much of burnout is unfinished gestures. Stopped midstream because the next thing demanded you. Tonight we offer the body a few completions. A breath that completes. A thought that completes. A day that, whether or not you did everything, can complete enough for rest. One of the oldest invitations in this path is to trust the wisdom built into your body. Not as a perfect guide to every choice, but as an honest friend describing the weather inside you. Your chest may forecast a coming storm with tightness. Your shoulders may tell you winter has lasted long enough. Your belly may say the morning needs more quiet. This is not mysticism. It is skilled listening. When we override these signals again and again, compassion runs thin. When we listen and respond with small kindnesses, energy returns by degrees. Tonight we practice this listening. Try resting a palm over your lower ribs. Feel how breath expands into your hand from the inside without your effort. The body breathes you. If it feels right, imagine that with each exhale the ribs soften a fraction and the muscles along the spine loosen their grip on the day. If any sensation is too intense or too faint, you can move your hand or stop. Let your attention travel toward what feels nourishing, even if the nourishment is simply a neutral patch of warmth. We spoke of 3 frictions that tend to amplify burnout: grasping for the not yet, pushing against the unwanted, and getting lost in fog. Tonight, take a closer look at the first of these, the restless reaching for what is not here. When you are depleted, reaching becomes a reflex. More coffee, more tabs open, more targets to chase, as if enough doing could stitch you back together. But craving is a tricky architect. It designs staircases that never quite land on the floor you want. Compassion doesn't scold the reaching. It asks the simpler question: what is this reaching trying to give me right now? Relief, certainty, affirmation, a safe edge to stand on? When you name the need inside the reaching, the body often softens because it feels seen, not managed. A small practice to explore this gently. Name the need under the reach about 1 minute. If it feels okay, recall a recent moment when you found yourself grabbing for something. Refreshing a feed, reaching for sugar, opening a new task before finishing the old. Pause here and ask, what good thing was I hoping to feel within 30 seconds? Choose a plain word if one arrives. Ease, connection, control, escape, sweetness. Whisper it inwardly. If a word does not come, you can simply sense the shape of the want. Offer a quiet sentence that meets the need in a tiny way, like let there be a breath of ease now, or let me feel one strand of connection in this room. If phrases don't fit, rest a hand where the feeling lives. You can pause anytime. In many households there is a drawer where random objects live: batteries, rubber bands, the one screwdriver you always need. When burnout deepens, our inner world becomes like that drawer, crowded with mixed intentions, old strategies, useful tools, and the occasional sharp edge waiting to snag a fingertip. Compassion is like taking 5 minutes to see what's in there, to thank what helped, and to notice what is hurting. You don't dump the drawer out, you loosen it. You let it close without jamming. You learn where the safe grip is. A story may help here. There was a river that ran between 2 villages, swift and cold. Travelers learned to tie reeds and branches into rafts to cross. One man, after months studying the river's moods, built a raft so sturdy it saved him in a storm. Grateful, he carried the raft with him everywhere as a charm against disaster. Years later, he found himself walking through a forest far from any water, shoulders aching, still bent under the weight of what had once saved him. He would not put it down. A passerby asked why he carried a boat where there was no river. "Because it saved me," he said. The passerby bowed. "May you be safe," he said, "and may you notice when the path is dry." The point of a raft is to cross. The point of a strategy is to serve. Compassion honors what helped us survive and, with equal kindness, invites us to set it down when it becomes a burden. Notice if any raft comes to mind for you now. Perhaps it is the habit of saying yes immediately, which once protected relationships but now erodes your energy. Perhaps it is perfectionism, which once kept you safe from criticism but now keeps you endlessly at work. Perhaps it is disappearing into tasks to avoid feeling, which once prevented overwhelm but now hollows joy. You do not have to drop anything tonight. You can simply notice the weight. Sometimes awareness alone loosens fingers that have been clenched for years. Let's bring this into a familiar scene. The kitchen at the end of a long day. You stand staring into the refrigerator, not because you are hungry, but because you want a door to open somewhere. The first arrow is fatigue. The second arrow is the story that you must fix your whole life before bed. Compassion offers a different act. A glass of water slowly, 2 hands around the cool, and 10 seconds of standing near the sink feeling your soles. The body registers this as care. You do not solve the week. You soothe this minute. The minute soothed makes the next one slightly easier to bear. Enough minutes and a gentle momentum appears. A micro-practice for this sort of moment. Sip and settle about 40 seconds. If it feels good, take a small sip of water or imagine the sip if nothing is nearby. Let the tongue notice temperature and wait. Feel the water move down the throat. Place the cup down deliberately and rest your hands on the counter or your thighs. Breathe out and let your shoulders fall away from your ears. Name one tiny, humane next step. Bread and butter is dinner, or eggs will do, or I can leave the dishes for morning. If a next step doesn't come, give yourself permission to be undecided. You can stop anytime. Burnout is fed by a belief that goodness lives in some distant, improved version of you. When you chase that image, you miss the actual person you are, who is tired and brave and here. The history of practice is full of ordinary people learning how to come back to themselves with kindness. In one quiet scene from the Buddha's life, he advised a young monk who was overzealous. Rest when you need to. A body that is cared for steadies the mind. No lightning, no riddles. A basic truth easy to ignore because it is so plain. Returning to the breath is one way to return to yourself, but not the only way. You might return through sound. The low-frequency hum of the room, distant traffic smoothing into a single tone, the tiny click of the house settling. You might return through sight, letting your eyes rest on one simple shape and allowing the edges to soften until the object becomes color and light. You might return through touch, fingers on fabric, palm on skin, toes pressing into a sheet. The doorway does not matter, the returning does. Here is a practice for the senses, small and flexible. 3 windows, about 1 minute. If it feels helpful, choose one sense to enter by sound, sight, or touch. Spend 20 seconds there. If it feels steady, open a second sense for 20 seconds, then a third. Imagine the senses as windows you can open to let a breeze of presence move through the room of your mind. If this image doesn't work, you can simply notice one pleasant or neutral sensation and stay with it. You can pause anytime. Sometimes confusion, the third friction, doesn't feel like fog. It feels like drizzle, constantly dampening your focus. Compassion's answer to confusion is not to force clarity, but to reduce the number of decisions you make while you're saturated. It turns down the volume on choice lightly. It might mean you wear the same comfortable clothes 3 days in a row and save your decisions for something that needs your art. It might mean you repeat a simple breakfast because it suits you and frees space. In oppressive weather, the wise traveler shortens the route. This is not laziness. It is intelligent kindness. Notice how you speak to yourself about these adjustments. The inner critic may argue that ease is a slippery slope. Compassion replies that your worth is not measured by friction. Some friction builds strength. Chronic friction grinds you down. You are allowed to design your days for the kind of growing you want: steady, humane, long-lived. In the middle of an ordinary afternoon, you might counsel yourself like this. Do one thing as if it were enough. The brain, trained by speed, will protest. But when you give full attention to a single small action, closing a document, taking 3 slow steps to the window, sliding 1 dish into the rack, the nervous system receives the message that life can be digestible. Digestion is what turns experience into energy you can use. Indigestion leaves you bloated with half-finished moments. Burnout is indigestion of the spirit. Compassion is chewing. Another micro-practice to support that digestion. One thing fully, about 30 to 60 seconds. Pick a tiny action. Align a stack of papers. Fold a towel. Send one straightforward message. Announce the action inwardly and feel yourself doing it. If the mind leaps ahead, acknowledge it and come back. When the action ends, breathe out and feel the natural pause before the next begins. If you feel rushed, you can stop and try again later. It's natural to worry that gentling yourself means losing your edge. But what is the edge you want, the raw edge that cuts your days, or the hone that lets your work be clean? In carpentry, dull tools require force and skip across the grain, damaging the wood. Sharp tools glide. The carpenter steps away often to sharpen, because she respects the work. If you step away to sharpen your presence, you are not abandoning your craft. You are honoring it. Here, a brief story of salt and water. A teacher asked a student to put a handful of salt in a glass and drink. The student grimaced. It was bitter. The teacher then led him to a lake. Put the same salt in this, he said. The student stirred the water and drank. How is it now? The teacher asked. Fresh, the student replied. The teacher smiled. The suffering is the salt. Compassion is the lake. We cannot always remove the salt, but we can widen the container. Tonight, you are practicing becoming more lake. Not by forcing yourself to be vast, but by opening small channels, breath, posture, attention, friendliness, through which fresh water enters. If you want, feel the width of your collarbones. On an inhale, imagine they lengthen a hair's breadth. On the exhale, imagine the space between your shoulder blades broadens. This is anatomy and symbol at once. The body's width often narrows under stress. Letting it widen tells the animal inside you that you are not cornered. Cornered animals claw. Uncornered animals eat and rest. Allow your animal to rest. What about the places where life is truly hard? Not just busy. The illness that lingers. The relationship that frays. The world's grief that arrives through every channel. Compassion does not pretend these are small. It brings proportion back to the moment so you can meet what is in front of you with what you have. Sometimes that means active care. Sometimes it means admitting you are out of capacity and asking for help sooner than you usually would. Sometimes it means doing nothing for 10 minutes so you don't do harm. Kindness to the moment you are in is a form of courage. Here is a straightforward boundary gesture you might try in the next day. The gentle no, about 40 seconds. Before you respond to a request, pause with your tongue resting softly behind your top teeth. Breathe once and imagine the word no as a warm, clear tone. Not a slammed door, a politely closed gate. If a full no is impossible, try a partial no with specifics. I can do Tuesday at 2, or I can help with the first part, or I can review but not rewrite. If saying no is dangerous in your context, practice saying a clear yes that includes your needs. Yes, and I will need the afternoon to recover. If this stirs anxiety, you can stop. Even the imagination of clear speech strengthens your capacity to use it later. If you are listening in bed, feel the weight of blankets across your lower legs. Let the calves be heavy as river stones. The bed holds. If you are sitting, feel the curve of your spine and see if one vertebra wants to lean a touch more into the chair's back. We practice with these details because big ideas change us slowly. Sensations change us now. There is another, quieter story. A woman came to a wise friend and said, "I don't know how to care for myself without becoming selfish." The friend poured tea until the cup was full, then kept pouring. The tea overflowed, puddled on the tray, and eventually dripped onto the floor. The friend set the pot down and, without comment, handed the woman a cloth. As they cleaned, the friend said softly, "When the cup is full, it spills. When it is empty, it cannot pour. We don't worship the cup. We respect it. Then we can share the tea." Burnout either spills or empties us. Compassion tends the cup. Let this last part of our time ease you toward rest. If you want, try one more simple practice that often helps the body release what it is holding. Shoulder melt about 50 seconds. If it feels right, inhale and gently shrug both shoulders toward your ears. On the exhale, let them drop as if warmed wax were softening into the shape of your bones. Do this twice more with half effort. Then imagine the shoulder blades sliding down your back like two leaves. Sit with the after sensation for a breath or two. If any pain arises, stop. If nothing is felt, trust that sometimes nothing is the nervous system's way of resting. As the fan hums or the window breathes, as the room shifts from detail to blur, know that you do not need a perfect plan to heal from depletion. You need 1,000 small permissions, granted again and again, until kindness becomes your default posture. You are already practicing. You are practicing every time you allow an exhale to complete, every time you admit you are tired sooner, every time you choose one thing and finish it gently, every time you soften the second arrow, every time you set down one old raft for one dry mile. Before sleep, you might choose one sentence to carry into your dreams. A quiet, human sentence like "I'm on my own side," or "I can go more slowly," or "I am allowed to rest." Repeat it once as if placing a note by the door for your morning self to find. Then let the words dissolve. Let the breath be the only language for a while. If you remain awake, stay with the comfort that most easily holds you. The cool on your cheek, the blanket's edge, the weight of your limbs, the hum. If you drift, drift gladly. Either way, you are in good company. Many have walked this path toward a gentler life, one evening at a time, noticing the wind change on their inner lake and choosing, kindly, to widen. Let the room settle the way a pond settles when the wind eases. Perhaps there is a pool of lamplight on the floor, a soft circle where color looks warmer. Maybe the window holds a rectangle of night and you can see one faint star, or the orange halo of a distant streetlight. If you are resting on a pillow, feel how it welcomes the weight of your skull, how your jaw can slacken a little more than before. If you are seated, notice the simple architecture of your posture. Hips supported, spine like a gentle river, shoulders draped instead of lifted. You do not have to go anywhere. You have already arrived. Let one breath travel the full length it chooses, like a wave running up the shore and sliding back. Nothing special, only complete. Burnout often arrives when your days are made of half-finished motions, half-felt feelings, half-spoken truths. Here, we practice finishing small things. A breath finishes. A shiver finishes. A yawn finishes. As the body is allowed to complete, the nervous system takes the hint. It is safe enough to soften. Tonight, we'll befriend another of the mind's frictions, the push against what we don't want. Aversion is not a villain. It is an ancient guardian that evolved to keep us away from harm. But when it runs the whole show, ordinary moments become fights. A difficult email becomes an enemy. A feeling becomes a trespasser. A sensation becomes a problem to be erased. The result is tightness, and tightness is exhausting. Compassion doesn't scold the tightening. It brings a warm palm to the fist and waits with patience. Meeting aversion kindly does not make you passive. It gives you options besides flinch, freeze, or attack. Options are energy-saving. Options are humane. You can begin with the smallest field, the face. If it feels okay, let your attention rest around the eyes. Notice any impulse to squint, to narrow, to brace. On an exhale, let your gaze widen, even if your eyes are closed. Imagine that instead of looking at a single point, you are letting the whole scene rest on your eyes. The world comes to you. You don't have to lunge toward it. When the gaze softens, the jaw sometimes follows. Tongue resting gently behind the upper teeth, lips unpressed. If the body wants to sigh, let it. Sighs are the body's way of ventilating stale rooms. Aversion shows up most clearly with sensations we label bad. Knot in the stomach, heat in the face, a pressure at the temples. The reflex is understandable. Push it away. But pushing takes force, and force takes fuel you don't have to spare. Curiosity, on the other hand, costs less. It is a light touch. Curiosity lets you come close enough to understand without being swallowed. And once you understand, you can respond rather than react. Try this brief experiment. Touch and name about 1 minute. If it feels alright, choose one mild sensation in the body that's not your favorite. A tension in the shoulder, a heaviness behind the eyes, a flutter in the belly. Place attention there as if you were placing a cup under a slow drip. Not to capture, simply to notice. Name the sensation with simple words. Pulsing, warm, dull, tight. If the words want to become a story, step back to the words for just 10 more seconds. Then ask softly, what does this part of me want right now? Space, heat, rest, reassurance, nothing. Offer one tiny gesture that fits. Adjust the pillow, pull the blanket up, place a hand there, or simply say inwardly, I'm with you. If it feels too much, stop and return to the breath or to a neutral place like the hands. In daily life, aversion often wears practical disguises. You open a message and feel a slice of annoyance. Why are they asking this again? You look at a calendar block and dread rises. You notice your energy dip and a voice says, not this feeling again. Compassion's move here is understated and strong. It admits reality, the feeling is here, and chooses a response that spends less of you. Sometimes that means you take 3 seconds before replying. Sometimes it means you write one clear sentence instead of defending your worth. Sometimes it means you leave the room and drink water. These are not evasions. They are skillful exits from unnecessary battles. A story from the old paths offers a clean picture. 2 travelers were crossing a muddy road after heavy rain. At the edge stood a person in fine clothes, afraid to step into the muck. One traveler lifted them and carried them across, set them down, and continued on. Hours later, the other traveler burst out, I can't believe you carried that person. That's against our rules. The first traveler smiled softly. I put them down hours ago. Why are you still carrying them? Aversion is often a weight we carry long after the moment has passed. Compassion helps us put it down sooner, not by pretending it didn't happen, but by letting the body unclench around a memory that has already ended. If a memory has you in its grip tonight, you might try this. Let it end in the body about 40 seconds. If it feels safe enough, bring the moment to mind briefly. Notice where the body tightens as it arrives. Choose one of those places and let your next exhale include that area, as if breath could pass through muscle and warm it from the inside. Then picture the scene becoming a black and white photograph that you place gently on a quiet shelf. You can return to it later if needed. For now, let the shelf hold it. If imagery doesn't help, simply feel the contact points of your body with the bed or chair and name the present. Pillow, sheet, thigh, floor. You can stop anytime. Aversion also shows up as self-aversion, the quick recoil from our own humanity. You notice you spaced out in a meeting, and a sharp internal voice says seriously. You see yourself in the mirror after a hard week, and judgment arrives out of habit. This inner flinch exhausts you. Compassion is not flattery. It is accurate. Accuracy says, minds wander. Bodies change with seasons. You are allowed to be a person. When you meet yourself with this accuracy, you spend less time arguing with reality and more time living in it. Here's a small practice that interrupts self-aversion without sugarcoating. Tension to tending, about 50 seconds. If it feels right, think of a recent moment when you criticized yourself. Locate the first place in the body that tightens as you recall it. Place a hand there or imagine a warm presence touching that spot. Name the tightness kindly. This is tension trying to protect me. Ask what tending would look like for 1 minute, water, one stretch, stepping outside, turning down the screen brightness, closing your eyes. Do one tending action. If you cannot, imagine doing it. Let the body register that you chose care over critique. You can stop if it adds strain. In public spaces, on trains, in lines, in waiting rooms, you can practice meeting aversion with a quiet, humane experiment. Instead of fighting the environment, too loud, too slow, too many, invite one softening detail in. The pattern of light on the floor. A stranger's laugh that reminds you of someone you love. The way your own breath makes your shirt move. You don't have to like everything to include one kind thing. Inclusion dilutes aversion's grip. Consider traffic. The honk, the brake, the weaving. The first arrow is real. Delay, noise, crowding. The second arrow can be optional. The certainty that the universe is against you. The rehearsed argument with a driver you will never meet. If you let the second arrow go, something surprising can happen. The car becomes a small contemplation hall. Your hands on the wheel, your seat holding you, the sky doing its sky thing, elaborate and uninterested in your schedule. When you arrive with more of yourself intact. A micro-practice for movement and aversion. Red light reset, about 20 to 40 seconds. If you are in a safe pause, red light, elevator, queue, let your exhale drop into the belly. Unclench the toes. Soften the shoulders forward, a whisper. Name one thing you can do nothing about for the next minute and let that be true. Then name one tiny action you can take kindly. Roll the wrists, lengthen the fingers, drink water, adjust the seat. If you're not moving through the world, you can do the same reset at your desk. If it aggravates you, let it go. At work, aversion often masquerades as control. You feel a colleague's tone and armor up to avoid being hurt or blamed. You feel behind and clamp down on your team. Compassion doesn't mean letting standards dissolve. It means letting fear speak in a voice you can understand so you can choose a proportionate response. You might say to yourself, of course I'm bracing. I care about this. Then ask, what's the smallest clear thing I can say that does not punish anyone? Clarity and kindness are not opposites. They are two hands of the same craft. There is a quiet moment in the Buddha's story when a man hurled insults at him. When he didn't react, the man demanded why. The Buddha answered with a simple logic. If you bring a gift to someone and they do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man understood. The point here is not to become made of stone. It is to notice when you are being offered something you don't have to take into your body. Aversion often grabs the package and unpacks it with vigor. Compassion can leave it on the doorstep. If you've been running hot for a long time, you may worry that if you drop your guard, everything will flood in. This worry deserves respect. Sometimes softening must be measured. You can open a window rather than the door. You can let in 5% more air, then pause. You can choose contexts where safety is higher to practice more fully. This is not cowardice. It is intelligent pacing. Healing at a rhythm your system can absorb is not slow. It is sustainable. Try a short pacing practice. 5% softening, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels workable, choose one place that habitually tightens: brow, jaw, belly, hands. Rather than forcing relaxation, ask for 5% less effort there. Not all the way, just a nudge. Breathe once with that nudge. If it feels okay, ask for another 5%. If not, hold there or return to neutral. End by sensing the difference between before and after, even if it is tiny. You are teaching the body that it has a dimmer switch, not only on and off. Aversion loves to recruit language. Notice phrases like "I can't stand this," "this always happens," "I hate this feeling." These sentences are understandable. They are the mind's way of venting steam, but they also shape the body's reaction. If you want, experiment gently with language that acknowledges difficulty without adding pressure. You might say, "This is hard and I can meet it in small bites." You might say, "I don't like this and I can breathe here for one count." Words are tools. Choose ones that build bridges rather than walls. Parenting, caregiving, partnering, these are fertile fields for aversion because love is present, and where there is love, there is vulnerability. When a child refuses sleep, when a parent repeats a story, when a partner misses a cue, aversion may flare. Compassion's response is not saintly patience. It is crafty kindness. It asks for specificity. What exactly is unbearable? The noise, the repetition, the feeling of being unseen. Once named, you can make micro-adjustments, earplugs, a 5-minute tag-out, a hand on your own heart while you listen, a gentle boundary about tone. These are small acts that keep love from burning itself up. Here is a practice for those moments. Micro-boundary breath, about 45 seconds. If it feels right, inhale and picture a soft ring of light around you at arm's length. On the exhale, imagine that ring firming up just enough to mark where you end and someone else begins. Whisper inwardly, "I can care," without absorbing. Name one kind limit, one more story, then a pause. "I can listen for 5 minutes. I'll answer this after I drink water." If you can speak it, do. If not, hold it in your posture. If it sparks conflict, step back and try again later. You can stop anytime. Aversion shrinks the world to the edges of the problem. Compassion re-expands it so that difficulty is placed in a wider field. The wider field is not denial. It is context. The taste of tea while the email is open. The sound of rain while the bill is due. The warmth of your socks while you wait on hold. When the field widens, you still address what needs addressing, but you are not starved of the very things that make addressing possible. Steadiness, creativity, humor. If humor is available tonight, let it in. Let a small grin rise at the mind's old dramatics. Not mockery, a wink. The mind loves to predict catastrophe. You can thank it for its protective enthusiasm and remind it that not every squeaky hinge signals a collapsing house. Sometimes it is only a hinge, and the house is fine. For the remainder of our time, let the body take the lead again. Feel the back of the ribs meeting the bed or chair. On an inhale, imagine the back broadening. On the exhale, imagine the front softening. If you like, pair it with a quiet phrase, wide back, easy front. This posture has a simple wisdom. You are supported and you don't have to brace. It is not a command. It is a suggestion you can accept or decline. As sleep nears, or as rest deepens without sleep, choose one gentle promise to carry into the next day that relates to aversion. Perhaps you will let one feeling complete for 10 seconds before you pick up your phone. Perhaps you will try the red light reset at a doorway. Perhaps you will practice one honest boundary sentence in a safe context. Do not make a big plan. Choose something scaled to your current energy, something kind. Before we close, one final practice to gather the threads of this evening. Friendly labeling, about 1 minute. If it feels soothing, sense what is most present right now. Sleepiness, relief, resistance, quiet, nothing. Label it kindly 3 times on the exhale, like waves touching shore. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Then allow the labeling to fade and rest in the feeling itself for 2 or 3 breaths. If the mind wanders, that's fine. You can return or you can drift. You can stop anytime. The lamplight may be gentler now, or the room darker, edges blurred. Your body has done a day's work. You have met frictions and chosen, again and again, to lean toward care. Even the decision to listen here counts. It is a form of kindness. Aversion will visit again. This is not a failure. When it comes, you will have more than one move. You can touch and name. You can soften by 5%. You can widen the field. You can put down what is already over. You can tend the tension instead of arguing with it. These are not spiritual theatrics. They are human arts. You are learning them well. Let the breath finish one more easy cycle. Let your hands rest like boats moored in a safe harbor. Let your thoughts, if they must move, move at the pace of clouds. And if sleep wants you, let yourself be taken up kindly. If not, rest is good too. Either way, compassion is here, steady as a low flame, warming the room from the inside. Let the quiet of the room deepen, as if someone has placed a soft blanket over the furniture and the corners. Maybe there is the faintest scent of clean cotton or a trace of your shampoo lingering on the pillowcase. If your window is closed, feel the room's stillness, a kind of held breath in the house itself. If a night breeze moves through, notice the cool kiss across your forehead. The mattress welcomes you like familiar ground. Your shoulders do not have to stand guard. They can settle like snow finally landing after a long drift. Let the next 3 breaths be simple and kind, no counting, just permission. On the in-breath, you arrive. On the out-breath, you release what can be released. If the mind wants a small task, you might silently say here on the inhale and now on the exhale. If words feel busy, let them go. The body knows how to be here without commentary. Tonight, we turn toward everyday healing, the kind that weaves through dishes and texts and meetings, the kind that does not need special clothes or sacred rooms. Burnout, left untended, can make life feel like a permanent hallway between emergencies. Everyday healing opens doors again into small rooms where warmth lives. The old patterns, reaching, pushing away, clouding over, will still visit, but we will meet them inside rooms that have chairs and light, not in the hallway where we pace. Begin by honoring the most practical truth. You cannot give what you do not have. Many of us learn to power through on fumes, to treat rest as a reward for perfect performance rather than a necessary ingredient for humane living. Compassion does not scold this. It understands why you adapted this way, and it invites a different math. When you invest 1 minute in kindness, the return is not glamorous, but it compounds quietly. Steadier breath, clearer choices, fewer second arrows, less friction burned into tasks. This is not self-indulgence. It is maintenance. Let's anchor that with a tiny rhythm you can carry into any day. Sip, see, soften, about 30 to 40 seconds. If it feels right, take a small sip of water or imagine one. Let your eyes land on a single ordinary object, the rim of a cup, the fold of a blanket, the curve of a doorknob. Exhale and allow one muscle group to soften by 5%, jaw, shoulders, belly, hands. If your context doesn't allow this, do only the seeing. If even that is too much, picture the object briefly in your mind. You can pause anytime. Everyday healing also means learning the difference between effort and strain. Effort is a clean flame that warms the room. Strain is a smoky fire that sets off alarms. When we are depleted, we often miss the moment when effort crosses into strain, and we only notice when everything smells like smoke. The body will tell you earlier if you listen. A slight hitch in breathing, a tight ring behind the eyes, a narrowing of vision, thoughts that move like a car stuck in first gear. Compassion is the friend who puts a gentle hand on your shoulder at that moment and says, "Let's adjust the flame." Try a small calibration practice. Effort dial about 1 minute. If it feels helpful, picture a dial from 0 to 10 that controls how hard you're pushing. Choose a current task: reading, listening, cleaning, coding, parenting. Ask your body, where is the dial right now? If it reads 7 or higher and you feel frayed, gently nudge it down 1 number. Breathe once and notice if clarity changes. If you feel dull at 2 or lower, nudge it up 1 number with a straighter spine or a clearer gaze. You are not demanding, you are tuning. If the metaphor doesn't work, you can skip it. Burnout thrives on tangled to-do lists that pretend everything is equally urgent because everything is equally shouting. Everyday healing, guided by compassion, introduces a kinder sequence. 1 humane thing at a time. You can still meet deadlines, but inside the meeting of them, you allow your nervous system to work with you rather than against you. Consider how you open your day. Many of us start by stepping into a stream of other people's asks. What if the first 60 seconds belong to you? We'll keep it modest. Own the first minute, about 60 seconds. If it feels right, before you look at a screen, place your feet on the ground and look toward natural light, or, if none is available, toward a soft surface that feels friendly. A plant, a wooden shelf, a quiet wall. Ask one question: what would make today gentler and still honest? Let a single word arrive: space, clarity, kindness, timing. Place that word like a small stone in your pocket. If nothing comes, you can choose gentler by default. If the minute can't be spared, reclaim 30 seconds at the sink or 5 breaths by the door. You can pause anytime. There is a plain story that belongs here. A woman once brought her exhaustion to a teacher and asked for a secret to keep going. The teacher pointed to a row of rice bowls on a shelf and said, "Wash one bowl at a time." When the woman looked disappointed, the teacher added, "And when you are done, rest your hands on the warm bowl for a moment before putting it away." The woman tried it. She found that the moment of warmth changed the flavor of the task. The washing, no longer a sprint, became a rhythm. The small pause between bowls returned a trickle of energy. This was not magic. It was attention, tenderness, and pacing. Wash one bowl at a time. Warm your hands on the bowl. We often resist such simplicity because we want a fix that feels dramatic enough to match our pain. But consider how you got here, by 1,000 small moves in the direction of depletion. It is reasonable that you might return by 1,000 small moves in the direction of care. Let's name 3 everyday arenas where this plays out: messages, food, and transitions. Messages first. The inbox is a place where craving and aversion take turns at the steering wheel. Craving seeks the email that will fix your mood. Aversion flinches from the one that won't. Compassion takes the keys back and drives with steadiness. It invites clarity and boundary at the same time. Message triage with kindness, about 45 seconds per batch. If it feels possible, open your inbox and sort by relevance, not anxiety. Choose a small number, 3 to 5, to address in this pass. For each, ask, what is the simplest accurate reply that respects us both? Write that. If a reply requires more than 3 sentences, consider a brief acknowledgement with a promise of a later time. After the batch, exhale and roll your shoulders once. If batching isn't available, practice on a single message a day. If this adds strain, stop and return another time. Food next. Burnout edits food into fuel only, and often late. Compassion restores food as care. It does not require beautiful plates or perfect nutrients. It asks for a small return of warmth and timing. It asks you to feed your animal in a way that lets the animal trust you. Warm bite pause, about 1 minute. If it feels right for one meal or snack in the next day, warm something: water, soup, bread, rice, leftovers, and take 1 bite or sip with full attention. Feel the temperature and texture. Place the bowl or cup down. Breathe out. Continue however you want. This is not about mindful eating as a performance. It is about reminding the body that nourishment can be felt, not rushed past. If warmth isn't possible, hold the container in both hands for 5 seconds and register its weight. You can skip this if it feels fussy. Transitions last. We leak energy at thresholds between tasks, rooms, roles, tabs. Everyday healing plugs these leaks with small seals of presence. Doorway pause, about 10 to 20 seconds. If it feels helpful each time you pass through a doorway tomorrow, slow by 5%. Let one exhale finish before your next step. Whisper inwardly, arriving. If you forget all day and remember once at bedtime, do it once between rooms in your home. If your day has no doorways, use the moment you lift your hands to the keyboard or touch your phone. You can pause anytime. There is a parable of grief and belonging that also speaks to burnout's isolation. A young mother, shattered by loss, begged the Buddha for medicine to bring her child back. He asked her to gather mustard seeds from any house that had never known death. She knocked door to door. In every home she found compassion, and in every home she found a story of loss. She returned without seeds, but with a new understanding. She was not alone. The medicine she received was not the return of what she loved, but the end of her isolation. Burnout also isolates, makes you believe you are the only one failing to keep up, the only one whose bones feel heavy. You are not alone. When you remember this, the shame that clings to exhaustion loosens its hold, and you have both hands free to care for yourself. If you feel able, try a brief belonging practice. Name a helper about 40 seconds. If it feels right, picture one person who has made your day a little easier in the last week. A barista, a coworker who shared a link, a neighbor who held a door, a friend who texted a check-in. Whisper their name or simply the phrase someone helped. Notice what shifts. If no one comes to mind, imagine the unseen helpers behind everyday objects. The engineer who designed your light bulb, the farmer who grew your tea. If imagining people stirs grief, you can let it go and name the support of gravity instead. Everyday healing is also about how we speak to ourselves while we work. There is a tone that wastes energy, the drill sergeant, and a tone that returns energy, the steady coach. The steady coach does not lie. It names the challenge and keeps the shoulders low. It suggests the next clear step. It doesn't threaten. You can borrow this tone. When you hear the inner sergeant, you might say, "Thank you for trying to keep me moving. We'll get more done with a quieter voice." Then choose one thing. Often that one thing will lead you naturally to the second. A micro-practice for tone. Kind prompt about 20 seconds. If it feels helpful before starting a task, say inwardly one sentence that you would say to a good friend before they began the same task. Something like "You've got 15 clean minutes in you," or "Clear and simple is enough." If this feels cheesy, choose neutral, like "begin." If it doesn't help, skip it. We've talked about identity softening, the roles that become too tight. Everyday healing offers actual moves to loosen them. If you are the reliable one, practice asking for a tiny favor that costs someone else less than 30 seconds. If you are the fixer, practice letting one small mess remain unsolved for an afternoon. If you are the always available one, practice one clear away message with a time you will return. These are not rebellions. They are recalibrations toward a life that you can inhabit for a long time. Here's a small boundary tool you may find useful. The window instead of the wall, about 1 minute. If it feels right, when you need to say no, frame it as a window of yes. For example, "I'm not available tonight, but I can give this 20 minutes tomorrow at noon," or "I can review 2 slides, not 10. Speak it softly if possible. If speaking is not safe, hold the boundary inside your calendar and on your lips simply say, "I'll get back to you with what I can do." If you cannot set any boundary in a particular context, set one elsewhere that day, even with yourself. You can pause anytime. Some days will not be elegant. You will forget these practices. You will scroll past your own life. You will reach for the raft in a dry forest. When you notice, compassion invites one act. Return. Return without drama. Return as if you were turning your head toward a friend who called your name. This is not backtracking. It is the path itself, made of many returns. Let's spend a little time with confusion, the fog that makes every choice feel heavy. Compassion's medicine for confusion is not to demand certainty. It is to reduce the number of choices and strengthen the kindness in the ones you still must make. A useful trick. Decide certain things once for the week rather than 5 times a day. For instance, choose 2 default breakfasts. Choose 2 outfits that you enjoy and alternate. Choose a default script for declining an extra task. Write these down where you can see them. This is not rigidity. It is scaffolding. Scaffolding lets a building rise without falling while it is still fragile. You are allowed scaffolding. To help, here's a quick template. Kind defaults, about 3 to 5 minutes when you have it, 10 seconds otherwise. If it feels right, jot down 3 defaults: morning, midday, evening. Morning default could be water before screen. Midday default could be 5 breaths at the doorway. Evening default could be device down for the last 10 minutes before bed. If you can't write, mentally choose one and practice it once. If you miss a day, the defaults are still there. They don't punish. They wait. Your body will have opinions about all of this. Listen. Some nights, rest is the only practice. Some days, movement is the medicine, walking around the block, stretching slowly on the floor, standing under a shower with the water set to exactly the temperature that says yes. The body asks for simple things. It is we who complicate. You might whisper to your body right now, "I'm listening." See what arrives. A desire to shift your hips, to roll an ankle, to unclasp your hands. Honor one request if it is safe. There is a small, tender story about a craftsman who made bowls. People traveled to buy them because they felt good in the hands. When asked the secret, he said, "I make them slowly enough to hear when the clay sighs. If I rush, I miss the sigh and the bowl holds the rush forever." The bowls that last were made with a pace that respected the material. You are both the craftsman and the clay. If you move slowly enough to hear your own sighs, your life will hold less residue of hurry. The work may not go faster, but it will go truer, and you will last. Before we close, let's weave one more practice into your evening. Something to help your system transition from the task of listening to the task of resting. The 3 touches, about 1 minute. If it feels good, touch 3 places on your body with your own hands, slowly and gently. Perhaps forehead, shoulders and heart, or forearms, ribs and belly. At each place, rest for 1 breath and think nothing special, only this is part of me. If touching isn't welcome, you can touch with attention instead. Rest your awareness on those spots as if your gaze were warm. You can stop anytime. Now feel the bed or the chair again, the gentle insistence of gravity inviting you to let go of a little more. Let your thoughts, if they must keep moving, move like boats on a wide lake rather than like cars in a narrow tunnel. The 3 frictions will come back in the morning, as they do for all of us. You will meet them not with a brittle will but with a soft, steady craft. 1 bowl at a time, 1 breath that completes itself, 1 kind boundary at a time, 1 return after each forgetfulness. This is how a life becomes livable again, how your light brightens not with a burst but with a gradual, reliable glow. Choose a simple sentence to carry across the night. Perhaps I can go gently and still be true. Or I am allowed scaffolding. Or warmth counts. If no sentence fits, let the body have the last word with a sigh that releases the day. The room will keep you. The night will do its slow work. Your task is only to allow the quiet to lift a little of your weight. Compassion first, in all the small ways that add up to a life you would wish for anyone you love, including you. Let the room be simple again. Maybe you hear the soft refrigerator hum in the next room, or a faint ticking from a clock that no longer demands the hour, only marks it kindly. If a curtain lifts and settles with the night air, notice that slow rhythm. If you are on your back, sense the broad field of your body meeting the mattress, the way the hips and shoulder blades rest like smooth stones on river sand. If you are on your side, feel the quiet curve of your spine and the gentle pressure at your cheek where the pillow greets you. You have done enough for now. The edges of things can blur. Let your attention float a little, like a leaf on dark water, held by what holds you. Allow 1 exhale to lengthen as much as it naturally wants. Let the belly answer gravity. Let the jaw loosen a notch. If the mind wants a small anchor, you can pair breath with an easy word, soft on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. If words feel like work, leave them. The body is already speaking in the language of weight and warmth and release. Tonight we'll turn toward a second pillar of healing alongside compassion. Clear seeing. Clear seeing is not harsh analysis. It is the gentle courage to look at what is here without adding or subtracting. It is the quiet skill of telling the truth to yourself in a tone that does not wound. Where compassion warms, clear seeing illuminates. Together, warmth and light become wise care. Without warmth, light can glare and freeze the heart. Without light, warmth can drift and avoid what needs action. We are learning to let them stand side by side, the hand on the shoulder and the lamp held steady. Burnout thrives in a fog of assumptions. Clear seeing parts the mist. It notices the difference between facts and the stories wrapped around them. It can sound like this. The fact is 3 emails came in after hours. The story is if I don't answer now, I will lose trust forever. The fact is my body is tired. The story is everyone else seems to do fine without sleep. The fact is a colleague used a sharp tone. The story is they resent me. When you separate fact from story, you can respond to the fact and let the story soften until more information arrives. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about giving your nervous system a cleaner field to move in. Let's practice that gently. Fact and story about 1 minute. If it feels okay, bring to mind a small tangle from today. Whisper the most basic facts as if you were leaving a note for someone else: who, what, when, where. Then pause. Notice the next layer that arrives, the interpretations and predictions. Name them kindly as story. Not wrong, just story. Offer yourself one question that widens your view. What else could be true? If no answer comes, let the question rest like a pebble in a pocket. You can stop anytime. Clear seeing also helps with identity. Those tight suits we've worn so long we forgot to take them off. When tired, we tend to cling to I am the one who must. Clear seeing remembers I am someone who can, sometimes and sometimes not. Identity becomes lighter, more accurate, more merciful. You still care. You stop pretending you are the axis of every wheel. The result is not apathy but sane scale. Sane scale is a form of rest. There is a small, luminous story from the old texts that often goes untold within talk of exhaustion. A monk in the community fell ill. He was weak, soiled, and lying alone. People passed by, unsure how to help, fearing contamination of their robes, worrying about ritual purity. The Buddha, seeing him, did not offer a philosophy lecture. He fetched water with his own hands and washed the monk. He asked the community to do the same for each other, saying that whoever would care for him should care for the sick. No thunderclap, only clear-seeing married to compassion. Here is suffering. Here is the obvious action. Let us do it without shame or mystique. When burnout makes your world abstract and far away, this is a beautiful compass. Look plainly. Ask, what would kindness look like right here with these hands in this hour? Often the answer is ordinary. Water, a towel, an email written clearly, a boundary spoken softly, a nap, a walk, the courage to ask for what cannot be done today. Clear seeing is practical in the smallest ways. Consider the moment the phone chimes, the body jumps. Clear seeing notices jump is already here, then asks, is a response needed now or is this habit? Compassion puts a hand on the jump. Clear seeing helps you choose. Or consider a tense meeting. Compassion softens your shoulders so you can breathe. Clear seeing listens for exactly what is being asked rather than what you fear is being implied. You answer the actual request. Half the wildfire in life is started by sparks from imagined fires. We can train this with a quiet mental move. Ask for the ask, about 30 to 40 seconds. If it feels right in the next conversation or message that brings pressure, name the request as you understand it in one sentence, so you're asking me to review the draft by Wednesday. If that's correct, good. If not, let them correct you. If speaking isn't possible, do it silently to yourself. This move brings light to the exact place where action is needed and saves energy otherwise burned by guessing. You can skip it if it adds strain. Clear seeing also appreciates proportion. Many days our mind treats every stimulus as a siren. The email tone, the child's call from the next room, the creak in the ceiling, all enter the body as alarm. Alarm burns fuel at a rate you cannot sustain. Proportion is the art of letting small things be small. You do not ignore them, you right-size them. We practice this with a tiny touch of math for the heart. Right-size the moment, about 45 seconds. If it feels helpful when a small stress appears, rate its actual importance from 1 to 10. Not its intensity, its importance. Then rate your bodily response from 1 to 10. If the body's number is much higher than the importance number, Place a palm on your belly or chest and say inwardly we can lower the dial. Take one slower exhale. If numbers feel silly, use images. Pebble stress, boulder response, we can set down the boulder. You can stop anytime. There is another old story, simple and precise, about clear seeing that prevents unnecessary pain. A traveler at dusk sees a snake coiled on the path and leaps back, heart pounding. He fetches a lantern, returns trembling, and finds only a rope. The danger was a misunderstanding. The body's reaction made sense given the data. The data were wrong. Clear seeing is the lantern. Burnout makes everything look like snakes. Compassion steadies the hand that holds the lantern so we can check, gently, more often. Many of your snakes will be ropes. Some will be snakes. Either way, the lamp helps you meet the real thing, not the imagined one. If you like, try a tiny lantern move right now with a mild worry floating nearby. Ask, what would I need to know to tell if this is a rope or a snake? Perhaps it's a single sentence from a colleague. Perhaps it's looking at a calendar square you've avoided. Perhaps it's drinking water before deciding. Clear seeing breaks the trance by asking for the smallest piece of missing information. Often, that is enough to right-size the moment. Clear seeing also works inward with thoughts. Thoughts arrive with costumes: urgent, authoritative, prophetic. You don't need to wrestle thoughts. You can label them and let them pass like weather. Cloud tags, about 1 minute. If it feels comfortable, for a few breaths, label thoughts with a soft tag and let them float by. Planning, remembering, judging, comparing, fantasizing. Don't chase them down. Don't block them. You're standing at a window, watching clouds with names roll through. If a tag annoys you, let it go. Return to the gentle feeling of air moving in and out. If the room feels heavy, you can open your eyes and look at something plain for a breath. You can stop anytime. The beauty of clear seeing is that it naturally lightens identity. When you watch a storm front move through, you don't decide you are the storm. You say a storm is here. When a mood moves through, you can say sadness is here rather than I am sad through and through. The difference is not linguistic decoration. It is physiological permission. The body hears that the weather can change. The heart learns to trust time again. Burnout tells you the current weather is forever. Clear seeing restores seasons. We can try a small identity lightening gesture. Weather, not marble, about 45 seconds. If it feels right, notice a mood or story that has been heavy. Say it gently as weather. A front of pressure is passing through. A fog of doubt is here. Place a hand on your chest and feel the rise and fall. Proof that change is already happening. If words feel cumbersome, simply feel one breath with the mood and one breath without naming. As if you were watching the sky regain blue between clouds. You can stop anytime. In the workplace, clear seeing honors your actual capacity rather than some heroic image. It lets you tell the truth early. Truth spoken early is kinder than rescue attempted late. When you name limits clearly, others can adjust. When you hide limits, catastrophe negotiates for you. Compassion gives you the dignity to speak. Clear seeing gives you the accuracy to speak well. What if the truth is unsafe to speak where you are? Clear seeing then notices the larger fact. The container is not kind to truth. Compassion can begin to seek or build safer containers, slowly, realistically, with help. A micro-practice for truth-telling that doesn't burn bridges. The clean sentence, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels workable, write or rehearse one sentence that states what you can do and buy when, or what you cannot do and why, without apology theater. For example, I can deliver the summary by Friday noon. I won't be able to join the late call tonight. The current scope needs 2 more days for a careful review. Speak or send it once without layering explanations. If the conversation continues, you can add context. The clean sentence is your anchor. If even this feels risky, write the sentence in a private note to clarify your mind. Clear seeing shines kindly on the body's signals too. Catches the moment the shoulders creep toward the ears. It notices the meal skipped by accident. It sees the screen's brightness scraping your eyes. We love to pretend the body is optional if the mind is strong. Reality is less romantic. The body is the instrument. The mind plays through it. Tune the instrument and the music feels different even if the notes are the same. A small tuning right now. A softening about 30 seconds. If it feels right, let your eyes be half-lidded. Imagine the muscles around the sockets melting like snow in sun. Unfocus for 2 breaths, as if you were looking through a window at a distant hill. Then gently refocus on something close without straining. This tiny softening can downshift the whole system. If you wear lenses or this feels odd, simply close the eyes for 1 breath and reopen with a slower blink. In families, clear seeing pays attention to patterns across days, not only moments. Maybe every evening between 6 and 7 is a rough sea. Clear seeing doesn't curse the sea. It adds flotation. It adjusts expectations, adds a buffer snack, lowers the bar on dinner, invites a 10-minute quiet game, reduces lighting, plays one song everyone likes. It is not glamorous. It works. Compassion keeps you gentle when you forget. Clear seeing tries again tomorrow. There is an acrobat teaching I love for this. 2 performers balance on a pole. The master says to the student, "If you watch me and I watch you, we'll both fall. If each watches their own balance, we'll both stand." Clear seeing directs you toward your own center of gravity. That doesn't mean neglect. It means attending to the one thing you can actually stabilize, your own body, breath, and tone, so that what you offer to others is steady rather than frantic. Burnout comes, in part, from watching everyone else's wobbles more than your own. Try an acrobat's breath. Center check about 1 minute. If it feels good, let your attention drop to the place 2 fingers below the navel, the low center. Breathe as if the breath were filling a small bowl there. On the exhale, feel the bowl settle. If thoughts about others' needs fly in, nod to them and return to the bowl. 3 cycles is enough. If you cannot feel the area, rest a hand there for a breath. You can stop anytime. Clear seeing is not cynical. It is tender and unafraid of limits. It notices that many things are out of your control and then helps you meet what is in reach with skill. It values small wins because small wins accumulate. It looks for the next true step rather than the perfect step. It knows that changing the angle of the day by 5 degrees, repeated, will take you to a different ocean. Let's pair clear seeing with compassion in a single, very ordinary moment. Waking tomorrow. Instead of checking the world before you check your body, you might feel the weight of your feet on the floor. Take 1 sip of water and look at the light. Clear seeing asks, what is the first honest step? Compassion replies, one that does not bruise. You take that step. You do not argue about the staircase. You do not promise to sprint. You respect the instrument, you trust the lamp, you carry the warm towel when someone needs washing. You ask for help when you are the one on the floor. This is a whole life already. If grief is near tonight, let clear seeing hold it gently. Grief is not an error. It is proof of love. It does not need fixing. It needs room. You can give grief a chair and a glass of water and sit nearby, breathing. Sometimes the kindest clarity is to say, this hurts, and I can keep myself warm while it moves through. Keep yourself warm however you can. Blanket, tea, memory, song. The steady rub of your thumb against your palm. Warmth does not remove sorrow. It keeps you company while you feel it so you do not burn out from the belief that you must carry it without comfort. Before we settle into quiet, one more practice to help clear seeing and compassion braid in real time. See and soothe about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels supportive, choose a fresh sensation or emotion arising right now. First, see it. Name 3 plain facts about it: location in the body, intensity, quality. Second, soothe it. Offer one kind gesture, breath, warmth, posture change, phrase like may this soften. Third, see again. Notice how it is now, even if barely changed. End by widening your attention to include the room, the ceiling line, the blanket's edge, the silence or soft sounds around you. If any step feels like too much, skip it. The practice is yours. Let your body arrange itself into a position that hints at sleep or at the kind of rest that will be enough. The night knows how to carry you without your help. If wakefulness remains, hold it lightly. You can rest while awake. You can feel the slow tide of the breath even when thoughts move like distant traffic. Clear seeing says traffic is there. Compassion says we don't have to chase it. Choose a small sentence for the path ahead, one that blends warmth with light. Perhaps I can be kind and honest at once. Perhaps facts first, then care. Perhaps I am weather, not marble. If no words suit you, let the rhythm of your breathing be the only vow. Inhale and you welcome what is here. Exhale and you offer kindness to what is here. Over and over, without theater, without force. This is the craft we're learning, human, steady, enough. For tonight, let the lamp dim with the room. Let warmth be felt as a weight across your legs, a softness at your throat, a gentleness in your gaze. The day can end without being perfect. You can end it with truth that doesn't bruise and care that doesn't vanish. Clear seeing and compassion, the hand and the light, will be here when you wake. For now, rest in their meeting point, which is spacious and quiet and yours. Let the night meet you like cool linen on warm skin. Maybe the air is still and kind, the room carrying a faint hush the way a library holds quiet between books. If your eyes are open, let them rest on one soft shape, the curve of a chair, a folded sweater, the outline of a plant, and then let the edges blur until what remains is only tone and shadow. If your eyes are closed, feel the soft weight of your chest rising and settling, how gravity cradles your hips and shoulders, how your hands can be ordinary hands, not tools, not symbols, just hands, resting. Allow an exhale to ease out and finish. Then a second. Let the third arrive on its own, the way a tide remembers the shore without being told. If it helps, you can silently say here as breath arrives and ease as it leaves. If words make a crowd in the mind, let them go and let sensation speak instead. Tonight, we fold our compassion and our clear seeing into a practice you can carry anywhere. A way to move through the day that spends less of you and returns more. Burnout often hides in transitions. Not in the tasks themselves, but in the jagged jump between them. Phone to meeting, meeting to parenting, parenting to dishes, dishes to scrolling, scrolling to bed. Each jump costs the nervous system a small spark. Enough sparks and the fuse runs short by noon. We rarely notice because the jumps are fast and the culture rewards speed. Compassion notices. Clear seeing maps the cost. Together they offer a new rhythm. Arrive, tend, and move. Not a slogan, a humane cadence. We'll practice that cadence and then we'll plant it in 3 ordinary places: work, home, and the space right before sleep. First, a small training for the rhythm itself. Arrive, tend, move about 1 minute. If it feels right, choose a tiny action you're about to do, stand, send a message, adjust the blanket. Pause for 1 breath to arrive. Feel 1 contact point and let the exhale finish. Tend for 1 breath. Add a single kindness like loosening your jaw or softening your gaze. Move on the next breath. Do the action slowly for the first second, then at a natural pace. If that feels clumsy, shorten it. A half breath to arrive, a half breath to tend, and then move. You can stop anytime. You may notice resistance. The mind says there's no time for this. Compassion answers with a quiet smile. There is no time not to. The costs of frantic transitions are already taxing you. Replacing 3 seconds of flinch with 3 seconds of kindness will not delay your life. It will build you a life you can stay inside. Now, the workplace. You don't need a new system to do this. You need a few gentle agreements with yourself. Let's begin with your tools. Every time the screen wakes, your body anticipates a demand. We can teach the body that light does not always mean urgency. That lesson saves energy. Unlock with soft eyes, about 20 seconds. If it feels helpful, each time you unlock your device tomorrow, let your eyes widen just a touch as if you were looking at a horizon. Exhale and feel your shoulders drop a notch. Whisper inwardly, I will choose what matters. Then proceed. If you forget most of the day and remember once is enough to begin. If it feels silly, simply lengthen the first exhale after the screen lights. Next, the calendar. Burnout loves unbroken blocks of productivity because it imagines you are a machine. Compassion knows you are a living creature, and living creatures need intervals. Intervals of mercy, about 30 to 60 seconds between segments. If it feels possible, put a 1-minute buffer at the end of one meeting per half-day. In that minute, arrive 10 move. Look at one object that soothes your eyes. Loosen one place that habitually tightens. Name one sentence about the next hour that is both true and kind. Answer 2 messages, not 10. Finish the paragraph, not the article. If your schedule is not yours to shape, take the minute in a hallway, at a sink, or before your hand touches the next doorknob. If buffers are impossible, practice once when you close a tab. Work also carries the 3 frictions in costume. Grasping appears as endless optimizing. Pushing away wears the mask of complaint or perfectionism, and fog hides inside multitasking. Clear seeing helps you meet them with proportion. One clean pass, about 45 seconds. If it feels right, choose one task that has multiplied in your head into 10. Editing a message, starting a slide, reviewing a note. Set the intention, one clear, kind pass. Write or do the piece that moves it from stuck to flowing without polishing the marble. Then exhale and stop. If you're tempted to keep sanding out of anxiety, put your hands flat on the desk and feel the contact. Name what's next. Return later. This interrupts craving for endless improvement and saves you from the second hour that rarely improves the work. At home, transitions gather at thresholds: the front door, the stove, the child's room, the couch. We can plant one tool there, a gesture that tells your body you are changing roles without tearing. Hand to wood, about 15 seconds. If it feels good, when you touch a doorknob, a cabinet, a chair back, pause for half a breath with your palm on the surface. Feel temperature and texture. Let the exhale soften your face. Silently say, now I am here. Continue. If that feels odd, place your hand on your own chest instead when you enter a room. The body learns. This is a new scene. We are allowed to adjust. For caregiving, compassion does not erase fatigue. It offers a container. When a child is midstorm, when an elder repeats a worry, when a partner is sharp from their own day, your nervous system naturally tightens. The old choice was to clamp down or collapse. A third way exists. Soften your front by 5% and lean into your back by 5%. We practiced this posture earlier. Here we apply it to love. Soft front, strong back in care, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels appropriate, while you listen or soothe, sense your back widening like a steady board and your chest easing just enough to keep breath alive. Whisper inwardly, I can include myself. Name one thing you'll do to replenish in the next hour. A glass of water, a silent minute by the window, stepping outside to see the sky. If nothing is possible, plan a later promise and keep it. The body trusts you when you follow even small commitments. Now the space before sleep, the fragile bridge where so many of us tumble into the river of feeds and messages. You've heard many prescriptions. Tonight, we simply swap one habit for another without moral drama. Replace the last scroll with a last settling. Ground glance glide, about 1 minute. If it feels workable, when you would usually do one more check, place your feet flat, ground. Look at something non-glowing in the room, glance, and let your exhale lengthen as your shoulders fall, glide. Then do nothing for 2 breaths. If the phone calls you, decide consciously, I may look for 2 minutes. Set a timer if you can. If you look, close with one more ground glance glide. No scolding. You're training, not auditioning. Underneath these practices is a bigger kindness. Letting the day be made of enough. Burnout often whispers, only more will save you. Clear seeing replies, right now, enough will steady you. There is an old forest teaching that carries this truth. The Buddha once picked up a handful of simsapa leaves and asked the monks which was more, what he held or the leaves in the entire grove? They answered as you would. He said, what I teach is like these in my hand, just the parts that help end suffering. The rest is not needed now. Your healing can be the same. A handful of useful leaves. Not all the leaves. Not all the hacks. A few that work, repeated. Let's choose a handful for your mornings. Shaped to conserve energy and return it. Morning handful, about 2 to 3 minutes total. If it feels right, pick 3 leaves only. 1 sip of water. 1 minute of stillness or looking at the sky. 1 kind sentence that sets a tone. Gentle and honest is enough. If a child, pet, or message interrupts, fold them into the tone rather than fighting it. If you miss it, you can do your handful at lunch. If you do it once this week, that is a beginning. And for midday, when the fuse is low, midday handful, about 1 to 2 minutes. If possible, step to a window or door. Place a palm on the low belly and let 2 breaths reach your hand. Roll the shoulders with half effort twice. Choose 1 humane next step. Then do only that. If you cannot move, let your gaze rest on a distant point for 2 breaths and lower your shoulders anyway. If even that is too much, close your eyes for 1 long blink. And for evening, to transition from the noise to the nest. Evening handful, about 2 minutes. Dim 1 light. Brush your forearms with your fingertips from elbow to wrist, then wrist to fingertips, like wiping off the static of the day. Sit or lie and label what is here with friendliness. Tired, quiet, floating 3 times on exhale. Place the phone face down and let the charger be a bell of kindness rather than a leash. If it all feels like too many steps, choose 1. 1 is enough to prove to your body that this home you carry is tended. Burnout narrows identity to the worker, the fixer, the strong one. Compassion loosens those seams. Clear seeing shows you the ways you've tried to earn your place by being useful. You are useful. You are also more than that. You are someone who can feel a breeze and be restored for a moment. Someone who can laugh at a small absurdity and be lighter. Someone who can be quiet with another human without solving them and have that count as love. Let this widen your sense of who you are allowed to be. Here is a practice for identity that doesn't require affirmations, only evidence. 3 true roles, about 1 minute. If it feels good, recall 3 moments from the last 2 days where you were not the achiever. Perhaps you were a witness to a sunset, a listener to a friend, a companion to a pet, a student of your own tired body. Name those roles. Witness, listener, companion, student. Let them sit beside the reliable one, the fixer, the leader. You're not replacing, you're including. If this stirs sadness for how little room you've had, place a hand on your heart and breathe once with that truth. Craving, pushing away, and fog will return. You are building a repertoire for each. For craving, name the need under the reach and give yourself a small, direct version, connection, ease, sweetness, so you don't chase 10 substitutes. For pushing away, soften by 5% and feel 1 harmless detail in the room to widen the field. For fog, lower the number of choices. Choose defaults for a while. This is not a new identity. It is a set of small moves that keep you human. Sometimes we need a story to anchor the moves. Not a miracle story, a kitchen table story. A man who loved his craft worked until his hands trembled. He tried to power through and ruined 3 pieces in a row. He was ashamed. He went outside, sat on the step, and watched steam lift from his tea into cold air. After 1 minute, the trembling slowed. He went back in and finished the piece. When asked what changed, he said, "I stopped fighting time and joined it for a moment. That was all." He didn't call it meditation. He called it sipping on the step. Your step might be the window, the sink, the crib rail, the steering wheel at a red light. Join time for a moment, then return. Here is a compact, portable practice for joining time anywhere. 5 breaths like this, about 1 minute. If it feels right, breathe with this simple cadence. Notice the inhale. Let the exhale soften the belly. Notice the inhale. Let the shoulders drop a notch. Notice the inhale. Soften the tongue. Notice the inhale. Ease the gaze. Notice the inhale. Feel the back widen. If this is too many instructions, choose one place to soften on each exhale and repeat. If breath work doesn't suit you, simply look at something that does not ask anything of you and count 5 slow heartbeats at your wrist. When the world is loud, headlines, sirens, deadlines, you can still carve a pocket of quiet without leaving. It's not antisocial. It's generous. Silence inside you is a gift to people around you. They feel the difference between your frantic presence and your steady presence, even if no one names it. Pocket of quiet, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels possible, close one sense lightly. Half close the eyes, or mute the sound by letting your hearing step back, or place your tongue gently against the roof of your mouth to quiet inner speech. Hold that for 3 breaths. Then reopen that sense with gratitude, as if you'd taken it off the hook and now you're answering kindly. Use it once during a hectic hour. You can stop anytime. For those nights when sleep continues to stand at a distance, let your goal slip from sleep to rest. The body cannot be commanded into sleep, but it can be invited into states that make sleep more likely. The invitation is simple. Lower stimulation, increase safety, decrease striving. Compassion lowers the pressure to perform sleep. Clear-seeing designs conditions you can repeat. If you're awake now, try a gentle body invitation. Weighted limbs about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels soothing, imagine a light sandbag resting across your calves, then your thighs, then your forearms. With each image, let the limb grow heavier into the bed or couch. If imagery isn't effective, place a blanket over those areas and feel the actual weight. Whisper inwardly, safe enough for now. If your mind argues, you can let it talk while the body receives weight. Often the animal in us needs only this to reduce the scanning that keeps sleep away. Before we close, I want to offer you one clean sentence you can carry into any hard moment tomorrow. A sentence that blends compassion and clear seeing without theater. This is what is here, and I can meet it kindly, one small piece at a time. If you want a shorter version, this is here, one piece kindly. You can write it, say it, or tuck it behind the breath like a small stone in your pocket. And a final practice to gather tonight's thread into your hands. Palm lantern, about 45 seconds. If it feels right, rub your palms together gently for 3 seconds to make a little warmth. Cup one hand lightly over the center of your chest, as if sheltering a small light. Name one fact of your day in a neutral tone, then add one kind response you will try next time. Fact: I snapped at the end of the meeting. Kind response: I will step outside for 1 minute before the next one. Hold the palm there for 1 breath more, then let the hand rest. If words feel heavy, simply feel the warmth and let it mean you are not alone inside your life. Let the room fade a little more now. Let your body be exact in its honesty. Heavy where heavy, light where light, tender where tender. Let your mind, if it must keep moving, move like a slow river rather than a frantic brook. You are practicing a way of being that doesn't burn you to be brilliant, that doesn't drain you to be kind, that doesn't confuse speed with worth. Arrive, tend, move, a handful of leaves. Enough. Choose a closing sentence for yourself, soft and steady. Perhaps I will join time for a moment when I can. Perhaps one small piece kindly, or nothing at all. Just breath completing itself, and the good night that follows, or the good rest that meets you if night remains long. In either case, compassion first, light close by, and you, dear friend, allowed to be human and held. Let the evening feel like a book gently closing in your hands. Perhaps a thin line of moonlight rests along the window frame. The air might be warm and still, or there may be a slow-moving current that brushes the skin like a kind thought. If you are on your side, feel the quiet cradle where hip and shoulder meet the mattress. If you are seated, let your weight settle into the chair as if the chair were a small, steadfast boat in calm water. You are allowed to drift. There is no test waiting, only this soft landing. Let one breath meander to its end, like a wave that touches shore and slides back without hurry. Let the next arrive as it wishes. If a tiny yawn comes, welcome it as a friend that knows the way home. If you prefer stillness without cues, rest your attention on the gentle warmth where your hands meet. Tonight we'll look closely at 3 common traps of the mind: grasping, pushing away, and fog, and we'll reframe them into teachers. The point is not to never fall into them. The point is to know their faces so well that when they appear you greet them without fear and spend less of your precious energy. First, the habit of reaching, craving. When the day has been long, the mind hunts for something to fix the ache now. One more scroll, one more tab, one more snack, one more plan. Reaching is a misunderstanding wearing urgency's coat. It believes a future moment can rescue the present one. Compassion doesn't shame this. It listens. It asks, what goodness are you trying to feel fast? Often the answer is simple: relief, connection, sweetness, certainty, permission. The reframe: reaching is a compass misreading. The direction is valid. The instrument needs calibration. Let's practice a kind calibration. Goodness under the grab, about 1 minute. If it feels right, bring to mind a recent impulse to reach, checking a notification again, buying something you don't need, promising work you don't have capacity for. Whisper the goodness under the impulse in a single word: contact, ease, steadiness, praise, safety. Offer yourself a tiny, direct dose. Send one sincere message to a friend instead of opening the feed. Place a hand on your chest for 3 breaths instead of pushing into another task. Eat something warm rather than grazing in motion. If this feels like pressure, you can pause or simply name the goodness and do nothing else. Naming already softens the grip. Reaching shows up at work as the urge to perfect beyond usefulness, to commit past capacity, to fix everything immediately. The reframe is craft over compulsion. Craft asks, what is the honest scope for today? Compulsion says only flawless saves you. Craft builds trust through steady delivery. Compulsion burns trust by promising more than a body can keep. You do not have to amputate your ambition. You can anchor it to kindness. A tiny work practice. Scope sentence, about 30 to 45 seconds. If it feels helpful, before starting a task that tempts perfectionism, write 1 plain sentence. For this pass, I will do X and leave Y. For example, I will make the argument clear and leave formatting. When craving for flawless arrives, read the sentence once. If your context doesn't allow writing, say it in your head. If this adds pressure, gently let it go. Now, the second habit, aversion. Pushing away is an ancient bodyguard. It tries to keep you safe by banishing anything that threatens comfort or image. But when it runs the whole show, every discomfort becomes an enemy. The reframe: aversion is a protector that forgot its rank. It doesn't need firing. It needs a chair outside the command center. There's a story in the old tradition about unwelcome visitors named Mara, doubt, fear, temptation, who knocked on the Buddha's door. Rather than fighting, he said, "I see you. Come sit. Let's have tea." He didn't pretend they were friends. He didn't let them redecorate the house. He acknowledged and included them without obedience. Secularly speaking, this is a powerful nervous system skill. You turn toward a hard feeling just enough to take away its need to shout. We can try a brief version. Tea with the tightness, about 1 minute. If it feels all right, find a mild resistance in the body or mind, a knot in the belly, a no in the jaw, a prickle of irritation. Name it softly, hello tightness or hello no. Imagine placing a small cushion beside you for it. You might say, you can sit here while I breathe 3 times. Do nothing else. After the 3rd breath, check if it wants anything simple: space, posture shift, a glass of water. Give only what is easy. If this spikes discomfort, stop and return to a neutral anchor like the hands. Aversion at home can look like bracing against mess, noise, repetition. The reframe is proportion and permission. The mess is not a moral failure. It's a season. The noise is a sign of life. You can still ask for a soft hour. The repetition is how some nervous systems feel safe. You can rest your own while others loop. You can pair clarity with gentleness. This pile will move one basket at a time. This child will be heard for 5 minutes before I ask for quiet. This partner's tone touches an old bruise and I will say that kindly. A micro-boundary that supports this. The kind container about 45 seconds. If it feels workable, set a limit with warmth. I can listen for 7 minutes and then refill my cup, or I can clear the table for 10 minutes and leave the rest for morning. If speaking it isn't safe, make the container in your schedule and posture. If making any limit is impossible, imagine the container first so your system knows you care about it. You can pause anytime. Lastly, the fog confusion. When energy runs low, decision-making phrase. Fog isn't failure. It is a request for fewer inputs and more gentle structure. The reframe. Confusion is not a lack of intelligence. It is a sign you need scaffolding and rest. Clarity becomes a series of small lights rather than a stadium switch. A simple scaffolding practice. 2-path question, about 1 minute. If it feels helpful when stuck, reduce choices to 2 humane paths. Do I do a small piece now or do I rest briefly and schedule the piece? If neither feels accessible, add 1 more path. Ask for help. Make 1 move and bless it as enough for this round. If the question itself feels tiring, close your eyes for 2 breaths and decide arbitrarily. Sometimes any path ends the trance. You can stop anytime. These reframes come alive in ordinary scenes. Consider late-night scrolling. Craving promises relief. Aversion pushes away tiredness. Fog dims discernment. The reframe is not be perfect. It is be proportionate. Ask the goodness under the grab, maybe connection. Offer 1 direct action. Send a thank you to someone you appreciate. Sit 10 seconds with tea with the tightness. Say hello to the ache that wants escape. Ask the 2-path question. 2 more minutes of scrolling with a timer or phone face down now. Choose with kindness. You cannot lose when the tone is kind. Or take body image on a depleted day. Craving wants a quick fix to feel acceptable. Aversion flinches from the mirror. Fog says nothing you try will help. The reframe, your body is a loyal partner asking for humane conditions. Offer warmth before commentary. Drink water, feel your feet, wear the softer shirt. If you must look in the mirror, add 1 sentence that names function over form. These legs carried me. These eyes read to a child. This face belongs to a person who tried today. Not a slogan. Correction toward accuracy. Another everyday scene. Conflict by text. Craving wants resolution now. Aversion wants to prove. Fog wants to disappear. The reframe. Give your nervous system a body-based vote. Step away from the rectangle. Feel the ground. Unhook 1 shoulder from your ear. Write a clean sentence, 1 truth, 1 boundary, 1 offer. Leave the rest for a future time when bodies can co-regulate. If that's not possible, send the simplest accurate reply and put the device down for 60 seconds to let the body catch up with the words. Here are 3 tiny practices that match the 3 reframes, designed to be portable. Craving direct nourishment switch, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels right, when you notice the urge to reach for a substitute, give yourself a tiny real thing instead. Want sweetness? Taste a square of fruit or chocolate with attention. Want affirmation? Place a palm on the chest and say 1 accurate, non-grand sentence about your effort today. Want certainty? Choose a single next action you control. If it feels forced, return to naming the goodness only. Aversion 5% welcome, about 30 seconds. Find the smallest part of the difficult moment you can include without harm. The cool of the floor, the color in the room, the rhythm of your breath. Let that 5% in. You are not inviting the whole problem. You are widening the frame enough to breathe. If even 5% is too much, you can include the fact that you dislike this. Naming is already inclusion. Fog 1 tile only, about 30 to 90 seconds. Picture your task as a mosaic. Choose 1 tile to place. Title the document, put the pan in the sink, open the bill, write the first sentence. Place it and step back. Confusion hates completion. Tiny completions shorten its reign. If this brings pressure, skip it and lower input instead. Dim a light, reduce tabs, silence one notification. A short story for tonight, not miraculous, but exact. A traveler crossed a valley at dusk. Mist rose and turned the path into a gray ribbon. He tried to outrun the dark and stumbled. An old woman called from her doorway, "Stop chasing the shadow, listen for the stream. Streams run where paths turn." He paused and heard water. Following the sound, he found the bend, then the stone bridge he couldn't see, then the rest of the road. Craving chased the future. Aversion pushed against the dark. Fog hid the turn. His teacher was not a philosophy. It was a stream, something plain and present that carried him around the corner. Your streams are humble. Your breath finishing, the weight at your heels, the hush of the room. Listen for them when the path dissolves. Let's listen for one now. Find the stream about 1 minute. If it feels soothing, close your eyes or soften them. Ask, what steady sound or sensation is already here? Refrigerator hum, fan whir, distant traffic combining into one tone, the slow tide of your chest. Place your attention there for 3 breaths. If nothing steady appears, create a simple rhythm. Rub thumb and finger gently together and feel the tiny ridges. Let that be your stream. You can stop anytime. Reframing the traps also lightens identity. Instead of "I am a person who always chases," you might say a chasing mood is visiting. Instead of "I am someone who can't stand conflict," you might say a bracing pattern is here. Instead of "I am scattered," you might say fog is moving through. This language matters. The body hears the difference between a prison sentence and a weather report. We practice weather reports not to avoid responsibility, but to preserve strength for actions that help. Identity lightening phrase about 20 seconds. If it feels okay, choose one hard self-label and swap it gently. From "I am broken" to "pain" is present. From "I am lazy" to "low fuel" is here. From "I am too much" to "energy" is high. From "I am not enough" to "pressure" is high. If the swap feels fake, choose a neutral. Something is happening. Breathe once with the new phrasing. You can pause anytime. Notice how these reframes invite humor back into the room. Humor is not denial. It is pressure relief. You might smile at how the mind tries to order the entire future from bed. You might gently tease yourself for negotiating with the pillow like it's a lawyer. The point is to loosen just enough to move again, kindly. We'll plant one last trio of practices you can use as a small ritual morning, mid-night, to train the reframes where they are most needed. Morning, choose your compass, about 1 minute. If it feels right, before you check anything, ask which goodness is most likely to drive your reaching today: connection, relief, certainty. Set a tiny plan to meet it honestly. A 2-minute call, a 5-minute stretch, writing down the 3 facts you know and naming what you don't. If plans feel tiring, just name the goodness so you recognize its face later. Midday, speak to the protector, about 45 seconds. When irritation spikes, say inwardly to aversion, "Thank you for guarding me. I'll take it from here." Then add 1 body kindness, drop shoulders, loosen jaw, lengthen exhale, and 1 clear move, 1 sentence, 1 step away, 1 glass of water. If speaking inwardly feels silly, do the body kindness only. Night, shrink the field, about 1 minute. When fog thickens, lower inputs by choice. Dim a light, close a tab, put the phone out of reach. Then do 1 tile only toward rest, brush teeth, fill water, lay out clothes. Bless it as sufficient. If the mind insists on a plan, give it a small one written on paper with 3 lines. Paper ends the infinite hallway of decision. If grief or trauma is near, tread gently. These reframes are not meant to override deep processes or replace professional care. They are small lamps and warm hands for the common corners. You can opt out of any suggestion. Your system's sense of safety is primary. As you settle deeper into the room's quiet, sense how the body appreciates being told the truth in a kind tone. It lets go a little more because it can trust you a little more. You are not demanding calm, You are building it the way one builds a path in a field, with footsteps repeated, not with a bulldozer. Tomorrow you will forget and remember and forget again. That is the way of paths. The grass bends, then rises, then flattens a little more. The work is simple and dignified. See, soften, choose. Let's finish with one more practice that braids all 3 reframes in a single minute. See, soften, choose about 1 minute. If it feels good, name one current impulse or mood, reaching, resisting, foggy. See it as weather. Soften by 5% in one place, gaze, jaw, belly, hands. Choose one humane move scaled to your energy. Send one clean sentence, drink water, put the device away, stand by the window, close your eyes for 3 breaths. Then stop and let the choice register. If this feels like too much, choose only the softening. The moon line on the window frame may have shifted. The chair may feel more like a boat than before. Your breath is showing you it's tide again. Take a last small look at the 3 traps, now a little more like teachers. Craving, which points toward goodness, ask it which goodness and meet it directly. Aversion, which tries to protect, thank it and put it in a chair, then act with proportion. Confusion, which asks for fewer inputs, give it scaffolding and rest. Not dramatic, repeatable, human. Choose a closing sentence for this night, something you can believe at your current energy. Perhaps goodness is near. I can meet it simply. Perhaps the protector can rest. I will carry kindness. Perhaps fewer inputs, more breath. Or let words go and let the slow exhale finish and finish again, until the system understands there is no rush to the end of this breath. The room will keep you. The dark is friendly tonight. You are practicing a way of living that does not burn you to live it. For now, that is more than enough. Let the night lean a little closer, like a friend pulling a soft shawl over your shoulders. Perhaps the air is warm and still, the faint scent of soap or wood lingering in the room. If you are lying down, feel the quiet length of your spine, each vertebra settling as if it found its groove again. If you are seated, let the seat hold more of you, hips heavy, back supported, chest easy. The window may show only darkness now, or a faint halo from a distant street lamp. Let the quiet come all the way to you. Nothing needs your signature in this moment. Nothing needs your improvement. You are allowed to rest in the shape you are. Let one breath complete. Let another begin without effort. If you'd like a gentle anchor, notice the small, warm triangle where chest, throat, and mouth meet. As air moves, that triangle softens. If a thought tugs at you, let it be the tide pulling a little at your ankle while you remain on shore, steady. Tonight we turn toward identity, how compassion loosens the tight casing of who you believe you must be, and toward the tender art of forgiving yourself without erasing responsibility. Burnout clamps identity into a few rigid titles. The one who holds everything, the one who never drops a ball, the one who must prove worth with output, the one who cannot need. These titles were once helpful badges. They got you through doors. But when worn to bed, they scrape your skin. Compassion invites you to place the badges by the lamp at night. Clear seeing helps you choose which ones to wear tomorrow and which can retire with thanks. A simple image can help. Imagine each role you carry as a coat on a hook: parent, partner, colleague, friend, caregiver, leader, student, healer, maker, neighbor. Some coats fit beautifully for an hour and then grow heavy. Some coats were tailored for a version of you who lived in a different season. You can still love the coat and admit it scratches your neck now. Compassion doesn't toss it out in a flare of self-improvement. It says, I can hang this for tonight. I can try it on again in the morning with a scarf beneath. Identity lightening is not abandonment. It is wise dressing. Try a small practice. Coat on the hook about 1 minute. If it feels right, picture the role that has felt heaviest this week. Imagine taking that coat off just for this hour. Feel the body's micro-adjustments as the weight leaves. Whisper inwardly, the care remains. The costume rests. If a part of you resists, Thank it for protecting your place in the world. Promise you'll choose the right coat tomorrow with clearer eyes. If imagery doesn't help, simply place a hand on your chest and name one role you are not performing in this moment. Let the body register the relief. Identity often tightens around mistakes and blame. When a task slips, when you snap, when your body says no after you've said yes too many times, the inner courtroom convenes. The prosecutor gathers evidence. The judge bangs the gavel. The sentence is harsh. Self-forgiveness here is not acquittal. It is a different legal system, restorative rather than punitive. It asks what hurt happened, what can be repaired, what wisdom can we keep, and how do we return to belonging. A humane sequence helps. First, tell the truth without drama. Then, feel the impact without drowning. Then, choose one repair scale to your energy. Finally, bless your continued participation in life. Compassion keeps you from becoming the mistake. Clear seeing keeps you from excusing the harm. Between them, you can move again. Let's walk that sequence quietly. Restorative breath, about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels supportive, recall a small misstep from the past few days. Name the fact in one simple sentence. Breathe once. Name the feeling in your body. A press at the throat, a heat in the face. Breathe again. Ask, what is one repair that is possible and honest? A message, an apology, a clearer boundary, a promise to pace differently next time. Choose the tiniest version. Place a hand over your heart and say, I will try this. Breathe once more and let the identity that was bruised loosen by a notch. If the stirs overwhelm, stop and return to sensation. Pillow, blanket, breath. There is a Zen story that fits here. A man is crossing a foggy lake by boat. Another boat crashes into him. Rage explodes. How could you? Until he sees the other boat is empty, drifting. The anger thins. The impact still happened. His body still jolted. The bruise will bloom. But without the story of a villain, recovery is simpler. Identity lightens. Not the one wronged by a person, but a person bumped by life. Many of our collisions are empty boat moments. Tired people bump. Systems drift into us. We bump into others while fogged ourselves. Self-forgiveness begins when we can say, my boat drifted. I will learn to tie a better knot. I will also sleep by the shore tonight. Of course, some boats are not empty. People act with sharpness and we do too. Here, compassion refuses to make identity permanent. You did a sharp thing, you are not a sharp thing. They did a careless thing. They are more than that. This framing doesn't remove consequence. It prevents the kind of labeling that hardens harm into destiny. Try a small language shift. From is to did, about 40 seconds. If it feels helpful, take a recurring self-judgment. I am unreliable. I am weak. I am too much. I am cold. And replace the verb with a specific, time-bound action. I missed a deadline yesterday. I couldn't lift that today. My energy surged this afternoon. I shut down in that conversation. Breathe once and ask, what would repair look like for that event? Not my whole identity. If this feels false, choose neutral, something happened. You can stop anytime. Identity also tightens as we compare ourselves to versions of us that existed before burnout, before grief, before the new life that quietly began while we were looking elsewhere. We keep sprinting to catch a shadow. Compassion invites a different stance. Honor past you, bless their gifts, and ask present you what life fits now. Present you has different bones and weather. A garden replanted in autumn needs different light than spring. We can meet this with a simple ceremony. Bow to the old self about 1 minute. If it feels soothing, picture a version of you who could carry more, deliver faster, or sparkle brighter. Bow to them inwardly and say, thank you for all you did with the conditions you had. Then turn toward your current body and bow the same way. Thank you for telling the truth about our limits and loves right now. Ask one brief question. What would be kind to build next from here? Let any answer be small, more water, simpler mornings, one conversation. Then let the question rest overnight. If this evokes grief, Place a hand on your sternum and soften the breath. Grief is permitted. There is also the identity that refuses to need. Keeps you in the posture of giver, rescuer, the one without requests. Underneath is often fear. If I need, I will become a burden. If I ask, I will be denied. If I soften, I will be unseen. Compassion doesn't argue with the fear's origins. It offers a measured experiment. Ask for something that costs another person less than a minute. The nervous system learns that need can be small and safe. Repetition grows capacity. Soon you can ask for 2 minutes, then 3. Asking is not an imposition when scaled to the relationship and the moment. It is belonging in motion. A small practice here. 60-second ask, about 1 minute to plan, 10 seconds to do. If it feels right, name one tiny request you could make tomorrow. A glass of water, a quick review of a sentence, a hug, a ride-share detail, stepping outside together for 1 minute. Choose a safe person if possible. Imagine making the ask in a clear, kind tone. Feel the body's flutter and let it be okay. Then, when the moment comes, ask plainly. If the ask is refused, you've still taught your system to speak. Offer yourself warmth and try again another day. You can pause anytime. Self-forgiveness deepens when we repair with ourselves too. Burnout often comes with micro-betrayals, promising yourself a break and skipping it, deciding to stop at 6 and working until 9, saying yes while every muscle said no. None of this makes you bad. It makes you human, living in currents strong enough to carry anyone. And yet your body wants to trust you. Repair can be as simple as keeping one tiny promise on purpose. We'll keep it humble. One kept promise, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels helpful, choose a promise so small it cannot fail. 2 sips of water before messages. Standing in the doorway for 1 breath at noon. Looking out a window before bed. Keep it once. When you keep it, say inwardly, I did that on purpose. The phrasing matters. You are training trust. Trust is the bridge you'll walk back and forth across all year. Shame often sticks where identity is narrow. The wider your sense of self, the less any moment can claim to be the whole. You are not only the person who missed that call. You are also the one who noticed the sky today. The one who helped someone cross the street. The one who laughed at a small absurdity and eased a room by 2 degrees. This isn't self-flattery. It's a ledger made accurate. Burnout keeps only debits. We are balancing the book. Try bringing balance right now. 3 quiet credits, about 1 minute. If it feels right, name 3 small ways you expressed care in the last day. Not grand gestures, tiny ones. You rinsed a cup so someone else would find it clean. You recycled a box. You answered a message honestly. Whisper each and breathe once. Let your nervous system learn that goodness doesn't need spectacle to count. If this feels awkward, name 1 credit and stop. A short, precise story belongs here. A young monk asked his teacher how to deal with the inner committee. Voices that scolded, panicked, compared, despaired. The teacher poured tea into 4 tiny cups and placed them on the table. Judge, alarmist, perfectionist, fog. He poured a 5th cup and set it in the middle. Compassion. We don't silence the committee, he said. We chair the meeting. We give each voice a minute. Then let compassion make the agenda. The monk asked, what if the judge won't stop talking? The teacher smiled. Then compassion schedules another meeting for tomorrow and ends this one on time. Identity lightening is sometimes just this, moving from being a junior staffer in your own mind to being the chair who adjourns with warmth. You can chair gently with a simple gesture. Adjourn for the night, about 45 seconds. If it feels soothing, imagine your inner committee at a long table. Let each voice place its notes in a folder. See compassion stand, thank everyone, and say, we will continue tomorrow. Close the imaginary door. Rest your hands on your belly for 1 breath. If closing the door feels harsh, leave it ajar and dim the lights. You can stop anytime. As identity loosens, values become clearer. Values are not slogans on a wall. They are directions your feet can follow when the map is smudged. In fatigue, values simplify. You do not need a list of 10. 2 or 3 lived well will reweave your days. Perhaps kindness and honesty. Perhaps steadiness and curiosity. Perhaps generosity and rest. Values are how self-forgiveness translates into tomorrow's choices. Not to be perfect, but to be coherent with who you mean to be. A quiet compass making helps. 2 words north. About 1 minute. If it feels right, choose 2 words that feel like home right now. Whisper them on an exhale. Imagine them written small on the inside of your wrist. Consider 1 act tomorrow that would aim your feet in their direction. A gentler tone in a reply. A pause before you agree. A glass of water left on your nightstand. Stepping outside to see the real sky once. If this feels like planning, choose only the words and rest. Sometimes, what prevents self-forgiveness is the belief that if you soften you will stop striving altogether. The fear is understandable, but notice how you actually move when you are kinder with yourself. The shoulders lower, the breath enlarges, the field widens, options return. Striving becomes craft. When craft replaces compulsion, your work gains clarity and your life keeps you. There is a small parable of a woven mat that fits this point. A villager, eager to impress, wove tighter and tighter until the mat curled and would not lie flat. The elder weaver smiled and said, "Loosen your hands by the width of a hair, and the mat will meet the floor." He did, and it did. Self-forgiveness is that hair's width in your grip. Your life will meet the floor more easily. If regret visits as you lie here, let compassion make a nest for it rather than pushing it to the cold edge of the bed. Regret can be a teacher if we sit near it and listen without letting it take our name. You can ask regret 3 questions softly. What mattered that I ignored? What do I wish I had done differently? What small next step would honor that lesson? Then tuck the teacher in and turn off the light. Not as avoidance, because you promised to meet again in daylight. A brief regret practice. The gentle debrief, about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels safe, think of a regret the size of a pebble, not a boulder. Ask the 3 questions in a whisper. Write down the small next step if paper is nearby, or imagine writing it. Place the imagined paper on a shelf. Breathe once with your body, naming its present state. Tired, soft or warm. Let the debrief end. If emotions swell, put a palm on your sternum and feel the weight of your hand as an anchor. You can stop anytime. Identity also loosens when we remember we belong to something larger than our roles, breath, gravity, night, the uncountable network of people whose labor holds you even now. The road workers who flatten the street that quiets your neighborhood. The farmers whose hands touched your food. The coder whose fix keeps your device from crashing. The stranger whose laugh softened your day. Belonging dilutes shame. It doesn't erase accountability. It surrounds it with context and care. If you like, try a brief belonging glance. Web of hands, about 40 seconds. If it feels comforting, imagine the last object you touched passing through the hands of 3 people before it reached you. See them as ordinary people in ordinary light. Whisper thank you once, not as performance, as recognition. Let your body feel a thread connecting you to them, and through them to many others. If gratitude feels far, simply acknowledge the network as fact. Rest back into it a little. Now bring all of this toward rest. The room has grown even quieter. Edges soften. The world does its worlding without you steering. You can let your face be unassigned to roles for the night. You can let your heart beat without being a symbol of anything heroic. You can be a creature lying down or sitting, breathing. That is already a miracle in ordinary clothes. We'll end with a trio meant to ease you into the final descent of night. Letting go of the day's costumes, offering yourself a simple blessing, and setting a kind direction for the morning without making it a demand. Name badge off, about 30 seconds. If it feels right, imagine unpinning an invisible name badge that says the role you wore hardest today. Place it on the nightstand. Touch 2 fingers to your chest where the badge was. Feel the skin under it, warm, alive, unlabeled. Whisper, I am more than this role. If it feels tender, place your hand there for one breath longer. Small blessing, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it feels soothing, offer a single blessing you would give a dear friend who feels as you do. May you rest without proving. May your breath be easy. May your efforts be seen by the one who matters most, you. If blessings feel awkward, choose a neutral kindness. This body can settle. This mind can slow. Let the words be simple enough to say on an exhale. Morning seed, about 20 to 40 seconds. If it feels helpful, plant one seed for tomorrow that is values first and low effort. Water before screens, one kind sentence sent before work, 1 minute of sky, a clearer no said with warmth. Picture it once small, then let it go. Seeds are not pushed open. They live in dark soil and know what to do. If sleep is already near, drift. If sleep keeps its distance, rest anyway. You can rest while awake by letting attention spread like a thin pool across the body. Calves, thighs, belly, ribs, shoulders, arms, face. Nothing intense. A glimmer of awareness that says to each region, you don't have to guard. If thoughts talk, let them talk like radio in another room. You are not the host tonight. The station plays by itself. You can turn the volume down by half and let the song continue. Before we pause, choose one sentence to carry you through the doorway of this night into the gentle house of the next. Perhaps I can be more than my roles and still be reliable. Perhaps repair is possible and rest is wise. Perhaps I am allowed to be a person, not a project. Or let words vanish and feel only the slow release of the exhale, the small lift of the inhale, the animal peace available when you are not being measured. Tomorrow we will close with a simple evening wind down and a blessing large enough to include the parts of you still afraid to soften. For now, dear friend, let compassion settle into your bones like warmth seeping into a cool room. Let identity loosen enough to let your heart turn over in sleep like a child finding a comfortable spot. You have done enough. You have been enough. You are held. Let the night be wider than the room. Perhaps the fan moves a slow ribbon of air that kisses your forearms. Maybe the curtains are still and the silence is shaped like a soft bowl around you. If your eyes are open, you might see the faintest gray at the edge of the window, that quiet time when the world has not quite decided between night and morning. If your eyes are closed, feel the gentle weight of your body sinking into support, as if the mattress were a calm lake and you were a small boat moored to a friendly shore. You do not need to hold anything now. The day has set. You are here. Let your breath fall into a natural pattern, one you don't have to manage. Notice the coolness at the tip of the nose, the warmth as air leaves. If you want an anchor, rest your attention where the ribs meet the belly, that soft hinge of the body. On an exhale, imagine the hinge unpinning a notch, as if a door were opening to a quieter room inside you. If it doesn't help, let the image go. We are keeping only what eases you. Tonight we finish as we began. Compassion first, with clear seeing beside it like a steady lamp. We've walked through the old companions of the mind, reaching for the not yet, pushing away the unwanted, getting blurred by the fog of too much, and learned to greet each without fear. We've practiced tiny, repeatable moves, gentle boundaries, humane pacing, pauses that cost seconds and save hours, kindness that speaks in plain sentences. We've loosened the casing of identity so it can breathe, so you can be more than a single role and still be true. Now we gather what we've learned and lay it quietly across your evening like a blanket that remembers your shape. Before we weave the final rhythm, scan your body the way you might straighten a blanket, not to fix, only to smooth. Start at the brow. Let it soften. Let the eyes be heavy in their sockets. Let the tongue rest like a quiet animal in a sunny patch. Allow the throat to widen a thread. Let the shoulders drop as if they remembered how to hang from the wide bar of your collarbones. Let the chest be easy, the back broad. Let the belly be released from the day's holding. Let the hips be heavy. Let the hands forget their projects and become hands again. Let the legs lengthen, the feet fall as they will. If anything resists, that is welcome too. Resistance is only a guard dog that has worked long hours. You can nod to it and promise a shift change is coming. The final rhythm we'll practice tonight is gentle and circular, because that's how real life asks us to move. Circles of care within the circle of a day. It has 3 movements you already know. Arrive, tend, and bless. Arrive to what is. Tend what you can. Bless what remains. You won't do it perfectly. You don't need to. The rhythm is forgiving. Arrive, tend, bless can fold into everything. Arrive to the doorway. Tend your shoulders. Bless the room you're entering. Arrive to the message. Tend your tone. Bless the part that is still unresolved. Arrive to the face in the mirror. Tend the body with water or softness. Bless the human you are without arguing for or against yourself. It is simple enough to remember at midnight and honest enough to work at noon. Let's try it now with the day that has just passed. Arrive to the day, about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels right, call in 3 images from your day. Not the toughest, not the glossiest, just true ones. The mug in your morning hand. A hallway you walked. A sentence you wrote or read. Let each image sit for the length of a breath. No judging, just a gentle nod that says this happened. If the mind tries to dig, remind it that we are only arriving. The archive can wait. Tend the day about 1 to 2 minutes. Choose one spot that aches a little. Maybe the jaw, the back of the neck, the lower back, the tender place behind the sternum. Offer one small kindness there. Touch, warmth, a posture shift, or a phrase like "may this soften" or "thank you for carrying me." Then choose one small repair you could make tomorrow that would lighten this ache. A clearer sentence you'll send. A 5-minute buffer you'll add. A request you'll make. Picture the first step only. If planning tightens you, set the image down. Tending can be only breath and touch tonight. Bless the day, about 30 to 60 seconds. If it suits you, offer the day a sentence of goodwill as if it were a tired friend. You did what you could. Rest now. Or may what was hard compost into wisdom. May what was kind grow roots. If blessing language doesn't fit, try a neutral truth. This day is over. Let the words land like a light hand on your shoulder. Notice how the body responds when you treat the day this way. Often the breath eases because it is finally not guarding the gates. The mind lets go of a few loops because it has been seen and given a job for tomorrow that is small enough to trust. This is not psychological trickery. It is dignity. You are letting experience end. Endings are an endangered skill in our time. The body loves them when they return. In a moment, we'll craft an evening nest you can return to on any night, even when you're traveling, even when the house is loud, even when your heart is. Before we do, let's place one more gentle stone in your pocket. A way to meet the 3 frictions if they flare while you try to sleep. If reaching stirs, one more scroll, one more thought to fix everything. Name the goodness under the reach and give the smallest direct version of it. Connection might be placing your palm on your chest and whispering "I'm with you." Sweetness might be a single memory held like a warm coin. Certainty might be choosing tomorrow's first tiny task and letting the rest be undecided. If pushing away tightens, no, not this feeling, not this ache. Offer 5% welcome. Include one harmless detail in the room. The weight of the sheet on your shin, the way the air touches your cheek, the far sound that is more tone than event. Aversion relaxes when anything good is allowed to share the stage. If fog thickens into stories, nothing will help. I'll be wrecked, reduce inputs. Dim a light, turn the face of the phone down. Let your eyelids be heavy. Choose one tile only toward rest. Turn the pillow, drink a sip of water, stretch the toes. Fog is not a dragon. It is a request for fewer things at once. Now the evening nest. It is made of 4 threads. Not a ritual you must perform. A set of options you can choose from without thinking too hard. Warmth, weight, witness, words. Warmth might be a blanket up to the collarbone, a warm sock, a sip of tea, a hand laid gently where the body aches. Weight might be the natural heaviness of limbs when you let them belong to gravity, or an extra blanket across the hips, or the imagination of sandbags we used earlier resting across the forearms. Witness is the posture of attention that neither fixes nor flees. Feeling the breath move like a tide, listening for the steady sound in the room, keeping company with yourself the way you would with a friend on a porch at dusk. Words are the simple sentence, short enough for the breath to carry, that sets the tone. Safe enough for now, one thing kindly, nothing to prove, may I rest. Select any two threads tonight. If none appeal, rest in silence. Silence is a thread too. If it feels helpful, let's weave them once together. Warmth and weight about 1 to 2 minutes. Pull the blanket so it covers the midriff and upper legs. Imagine its weight traveling down through the bones and out into the bed or chair. On each exhale, let the heaviness increase by a whisper. On each inhale, let the warmth spread by a whisper. If you prefer movement, flex and release the toes once, then the fingers once, then be still. Witness and words about 1 minute. Listen for the quietest sound you can hear that is steady, the hum, the distant night noise, your breath. Pair it with one phrase that doesn't ask too much. You might say soft animal body, rest, or the simpler here, now. Repeat for 3 breaths and then let the phrase fade, while the listening remains. If emotions rise, grief, fear, tenderness, make space. You have learned to make space. Space is not a demand for you to process everything at once. It is the width to feel a thread without drowning in the spool. Place a hand where the feeling gathers. Breathe with it. If you need to pause the practice, pause. If sleep arrives, you don't need to finish anything. The nest will hold you without completion. You might be wondering how all of this will translate when the alarm goes off and the day asks again. Clear seeing would answer, not as a grand transformation, but as 1,000 small choices, values before speed, enough before more, craft before compulsion, boundaries before resentment. Compassion would add, and when you forget, you return without drama. The return is the path. Left foot, right foot.
Arrive, temps, blesse.
There is a short story of closing that lands here. A traveler came to a tiny temple at dusk, worn from many miles. The caretaker gave him a bowl of rice and a place to sleep. Before they parted for the night, the caretaker handed him a small clay lamp. The traveler asked, "Why a lamp? There's still a little light outside." The caretaker smiled and said, "Carry it anyway. The path between rooms always has one step that hides." The traveler took the lamp, and sure enough, between the doorway and the mat, a single stone sat slightly raised, ready to turn his ankle. The lamp made it plain. Compassion is the hand that offers the lamp. Clear seeing is the flame. You are the one who carries it the short distance that matters. Let this be your last practice tonight. A soft closing that seals the good you've done for yourself and asks nothing dramatic of tomorrow. The gentle seal about 1 to 2 minutes. If it feels right, place one hand on your belly and the other over your heart, or rest both hands by your sides if that is easier. Inhale and imagine the breath flowing under your bottom hand, filling the low bowl. Exhale and imagine the top hand warming the center of your chest. Inhale low, exhale warm. After 3 cycles, whisper a brief kindness to the person you will be in the morning. May you meet the day with humane pacing. May you speak one clean sentence. May you feel your feet. If words feel too much, let the hands speak by their warmth alone. If there is someone you love who is also tired, include them in a wider circle now. No need to name them. The heart knows. May we rest without proving. May we return to ourselves kindly. May our efforts ripple outward quietly and do good we do not need to witness. If blessing others stirs grief, place a hand where the grief lives and offer it companionship. You do not have to push it away to sleep near it. You only have to keep yourself warm enough to be safe. As we come to the end of this time together, consider what you are carrying forward. Not a set of rules, not a new identity, not a standard to be graded by. Carry forward a way of moving. Smaller, kinder, truer. You can drink water before screens. You can put your hand on your chest and say, I am on my own side. You can practice a no that is a window. You can let a breath finish. You can let a day end. The rest will grow as it needs to. If sleep is near, let these last lines be the bridge. If sleep is far, let them be a wider chair. You have walked through reaching and learned to name the goodness underneath, to meet it directly rather than chasing 100 substitutes. You have met pushing away and softened by 5%, widen the frame, let the body know it is not cornered. You have stood in fog and reduced inputs, chosen one tile only, trusted scaffolding while vision returned. You've tuned effort to reduce strain, placed boundaries that are kind to all parties, and turned identity into a wardrobe, not a skin. You've practiced the clean sentence, the small repair, the one kept promise. It is enough. You are enough inside it. Let your breath be your guide, the way stars guide sailors from beyond the cloud. You don't need to see them all night. You need to know they are there. Compassion is constant like that. Clear seeing too. Even when you forget, they are above the clouds of your moment. You remember by feeling for them the way a hand feels for the switch in a familiar room. We end with a blessing meant to leave a soft echo in your bones. May the weight you set down tonight remain set down until you reach for it with rested hands. May the parts of you that have been standing guard find their benches and sit. May the animal of your body feel safe enough to stretch long and slow in the dark. May your breath take its full shape without instruction. May your mind receive the gift of not having to solve the world before sleep. May the kindness you have offered yourself deepen your capacity to offer it to others without depletion. May the morning meet you like a friend who knows your limits and loves you more for honoring them. May your days become a craft you can practice for a long time, steady, humane, lit by a small, faithful lamp. If you want to plant one final seed you can carry forward without strain, let it be this short sentence, the one that fits inside a single exhale, one small piece kindly. Say it or let it rest unspoken. And if even that feels like too much, you can let the breath be your only sentence. The room is quiet. The night is kind. You belong to this softness. The world will turn without your hands on it. Let yourself be carried. Rest well, dear friend. Rest deeply. And when you wake, when you forget and remember, when you arrive and tend and bless in the smallest ways, know that you are walking a beautiful path. Compassion first, light close by, one ordinary and miraculous step at a time.